EJ's Space and Rocket Review. Then Starlink Group 623 launch coverage. Switch us over to Science and Technology. Oh, 95, look at that. Oh, wow, look at you. I could work, man. But here, I got something for you. Here, ready? I'll be back in 18 minutes. Learned. You're going to learn in that time, okay?
There was a time when a meteor flashing through the sky struck man with a deep sense of wonder. Even today, man's reaction to a meteoric display is likely to jam the switchboards with reports of imminent invasion from space. But as heirs to the knowledge, disciplines, and apparatus of the scientific revolution, we are familiar with, and at least partially understand, the meteoric phenomena. A meteoroid traveling in space outside our atmosphere remains unseen by man, for the molecules in space are so dispersed that collision with them causes no visible effect. If its trajectory traverses the Earth's atmosphere, it becomes a meteor. Here it begins to collide with more molecules. These collisions become more and more frequent as the meteor descends into the denser air of lower altitudes, causing it to decelerate. Each collision converts some of the energy of motion into heat energy, and the heat continues to increase until the meteor itself becomes incandescent, scribing its visible path through the night sky. Destroyed in the atmosphere by this heating, most meteors present no danger to man. Now and then, one is large enough to survive its passage through the atmosphere to Earth. It is then called a meteorite, and some are very large indeed. Dr. Peter Parameter became interested in meteors early in his career, and once wrote a paper titled,
"A thermokinetic description of bodies in passage through a plastic medium of nonlinear density at random velocities and angles, which could be just about summed up with this equation."
With this equation, his fellow scientists and designers are able to explain the effects of atmospheric penetration on differing bodies, those with different ballistic coefficients, at various velocities and angles. For example, if two bodies of different weights enter the Earth's atmosphere with the same velocity and entry angle, both the heavy body and the light one will begin to heat up at the same time. But impacts of air molecules slow the light body sooner. This deceleration of the light body occurs at higher altitudes, while the heavier, more energetic body penetrates deeper before it reaches peak deceleration. The total amount of heat generated by the lighter one is less than that generated by the heavy one, whose larger mass gives it greater kinetic energy. Two identical bodies with the same velocity entering the atmosphere at different angles also will decelerate at different rates. The steeper angle causes a more rapid encounter with the dense air, resulting in more abrupt deceleration. The total heat generated will be the same for both bodies, but peak heating will be less for the shallow entry. With identical meteors entering at the same angle but with different velocities, the faster meteor, under heavier bombardment by air molecules, will have greater deceleration, generating more heat and at a higher rate. But Dr. Parameter is no longer merely an observer interested in understanding the phenomena of meteors. A meteor is just an aimless traveler in space. Doc finds himself now involved in designs with a purpose and an aim. A missile has a target, and a spacecraft has a destination, a journey's end. To these, Doc applies his knowledge. He knows natural phenomena, both of aimless meteor and aimed missile. He knows that as they traverse the atmosphere, they heat up. If the heating or deceleration of a vehicle is excessive, the mission is threatened. Man cannot change the laws of nature, so he must use his knowledge to work within those laws. Doc Parameter knows that the two natural enemies to successful atmospheric penetration are deceleration and heat. He can fight these enemies on two possible fronts. First, on the design front, by modifying the vehicle's shape and size relative to its weight. In other words, its ballistic coefficient. And second, on the program front, by altering the vehicle's trajectory, its velocity, its attitude, and its angle of entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Dr. Parameter is now ready to use his technology to plan a successful re-entry for an ICBM warhead. He knows that of the two natural enemies, deceleration and heat, high deceleration is not a problem with a warhead, but too much heat could destroy it. He first surveys the project on the program front. He knows that the re-entry velocities and angles are essentially set by the mission. But to reduce heat load, the velocity of the re-entry vehicle could theoretically be reduced by firing a retro rocket. On investigation, he finds that in order to decrease re-entry velocities sufficiently by this method, a retro thrust system would be required weighing many times the weight of the warhead. This method is out. He next considers the possibility of changing the re-entry angle. He knows that a shallow angle will lessen the peak heat load by stretching the heating over a longer period of time. But the total heat generated will be the same either way, and the vehicle could absorb even more heat during this longer re-entry. Furthermore, a shallow re-entry angle has other serious drawbacks. First, a shallow angle impairs accuracy by deflection in the atmosphere. Second, it affords more time for enemy interception. A steep re-entry improves the missile's chances of avoiding interception and of reaching its target with minimum atmospheric deflection. In this case, altering the program is not the answer to the heat problem. Dr. Parameter must attack the problem of heat on the design front. Logic would seem to indicate that fast travel requires a streamlined shape to slice its way through the air. At subsonic velocities, this is true, but at supersonic speeds, the moving vehicle displaces air molecules which bounce off, forming a shock wave. As speed increases, the shock wave becomes more severe, and heating increases. An ICBM will have a free-fall re-entry speed in excess of 23,000 feet per second. At this speed, the heat of molecular collision and friction, shearing of air molecules, is concentrated in a narrow zone along the surface of a streamlined vehicle. The heat generated may cause the temperature to exceed 15,000 degrees Fahrenheit. To combat this terrific heat, Dr. Parameter designs instead a re-entry vehicle with a blunt frontal area. The blunt shape creates its shock wave somewhat ahead of the vehicle. This occurs because the atmospheric molecules colliding with its frontal surface bounce back and intercept others coming in, setting up a kind of picket line in advance of the warhead. The peak heat is generated in this area away from the surface of the vehicle. Although the blunt shape decreases the peak heating of the warhead to half that of the streamlined shape, it will still heat up to 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit, much too hot for unprotected warhead structures. To further reduce heating, Dr. Parameter must find other techniques in addition to the blunt shape. His first solution is the heat sink. Use the blunt design and add a mass of heat-conducting metal large enough to absorb most of the heat generated during re-entry without melting before impact. It works, but he is not yet satisfied. The weight of the heat sink displaces more than 1/4 of the payload. Furthermore, the blunt design slows the missile, keeping it in the atmosphere a longer time, making it less accurate and easier to intercept. For the greatest accuracy and shortest time in the atmosphere, Doc knows that the streamlined shape is the best, but the heat sink cannot absorb and distribute the sudden extreme heat generated during the re-entry of a streamlined vehicle. Doc reasons,
If the heat cannot be absorbed, why not eject it as fast as it's generated?
the answer is ablation.
Ablation. Coat the frontal surface of the streamlined missile with layers of ablative material composed of fibers, resins, and ceramics.
This ablative coating protects the missile from the extreme heat in several ways. It is a poor heat conductor. Its surface gradually melts away, taking heat with it, and its vapor forms a thin insulating layer, deflecting some of the heat from the surface. The ablative principle combats the heat problem effectively and permits steeper re-entry angles while adding a minimum of weight. The streamlined missile, with its increased speed, affords the least possibility of interception and the greatest accuracy. It does produce a huge deceleration factor approaching 150 Gs. Fortunately, this poses no threat to a warhead. But for manned or other recovery missions, the G-load is a most important factor. For manned re-entry, this force should be held below 10 Gs. A shallow re-entry angle of about 1 to 5 degrees is the simple answer. The shallower the angle, the less the G-load. But this will be sustained over a longer period of time. This means a longer time at high speed through the friction of the atmosphere. Let's take a moment to see why this is not desirable. Dr. Parameter?
Thank you. Gentlemen, we have here a kettle of water. Heathcliff, we can use you in this experiment.
Oh boy, an experiment.
Thank you, sir. Now, if we may have another kettle of water and your stand-in. Thank you. Now we'll proceed with the experiment.
Experiment?
We'll add the same amount of fuel under each kettle, but alter the form of the fuel under one kettle to make it burn faster. We ignite both at the same time and compare the results. Splendid. I'd like to point out that the fast-burning fuel, although reaching its intensity quickly, exhausted itself quickly. The heat absorbed was negligible. The slow-burning fuel, on the other hand, gradually increases in intensity. It will generate the same total heat load, but over a longer period of time, and you'll notice more heat is absorbed. Thank you, Heathcliff.
Thank you, Dr. Parameter. So although the peak heat generated in the shallow re-entry is less, the capsule is in the heating regime for a longer time, and without the utmost protection would absorb an intolerable amount of heat. For manned re-entry, Dr. Parameter overcomes the deceleration enemy through program with the shallow angle, but he must combat heat on the design front. A blunt shape to cause a detached shock wave, a picket line against heat, and ablative materials for additional heat control. The doc is confident his new design will fulfill the requirements. Now to try it out. He wants low peak deceleration, so the shallow re-entry path is mandatory. This brings him down safely, if a little off target. To achieve some control and accuracy as well as safety, Dr. Parameter has been working on other design concepts, particularly shapes that produce lift. He knows that a ballistic missile is designed and programmed to hit a particular point on the Earth's surface. A manned ballistic vehicle with the same objective is much less accurate due to its design and long, shallow penetration. But a lifting vehicle, which is capable of descending at a still more shallow angle and with an extremely low deceleration rate, is able to change direction. This control gives it wide selectivity of landing sites within a large footprint area. For the shortest range within the footprint, the vehicle is pulled up into a maximum lift attitude at re-entry. This induces maximum drag, causing a steeper, more abrupt descent. For the longest possible range, the vehicle must assume the attitude of maximum lift over drag ratio. This footprint, huge at first, shrinks gradually as the vehicle descends. Dr. Parameter, while considering the advantages of lifting vehicles, is also aware of their drawbacks. First, the lifting structure itself imposes weight penalties, which compete with the all-important matter of payload. Then, lifting vehicles may also spend up to 20 minutes in the heat regime, and being more streamlined, they require a still more complex heat protection system, competing still further with payload. Dr. Parameter, with his associates, has studied the strategy of atmospheric penetration. He knows its natural enemies, deceleration and heat, and has met them on the two fronts of program and design. He has accomplished important objectives. For the intercontinental ballistic missile, the objectives are rapid atmospheric penetration and accuracy. The warhead's natural enemy is sudden, intense heat. Its program? High velocity, steep re-entry. Its design, streamlined with ablation to combat sudden heat. For a manned or other recovery mission, the objectives are, first of all, safety, and then control. The mission's natural enemies, high deceleration, sustained heat. Its program, shallow re-entry for low deceleration. The vehicle's design, blunt, yet with control capabilities, a maneuverable lifting shape. The resulting long duration within the heat regime exacts a weight penalty because a complex heat protection system is needed. There will always be problems to solve. Dr. Parameter has worked out successful compromises so far, but he is still puzzling, still exploring. He plots his graphs, his curves, and flings them boldly into space. But he knows that we have barely gotten our little toe into space, and he constantly seeks to improve that toehold. He must hold to the possible, yet he constantly works along its impossible edges. He has opened the way for man's safe re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Journey's end for space travel.
That's always a good video to show. That's one of my favorites, dude. That is one of the best videos describing on how re-entry heating actually works. And some of that was pretty much applicable in the testing that we were doing. Pretty straightforward stuff. Heat. You want it really, really hot, really, really fast, or really, really slow for a really long period of time. It's like slow cooking something versus flash frying it. Either way, you're going to get a nice cooked meal. Like I just did with chicken parm. Delicious. How was the chicky parm? It was good, man. It was good. The end, Sag. Could you call that a fixed-wing aircraft? I would... No. We built that thing in KSP once. Yeah. I don't know how... I forget how we got it up into space. But we built that thing, and I made it work. We did land it one time. That was like 5 years ago or something. But we did do it, which is pretty cool. Oh, the chicken parm. The chicky parms. All right, so We have a bunch of stuff here. There are some articles that I want to discuss here. There was a couple of things linked from India's Space Research Organization. Then we can link that up. And then what else do we got? Edison Motors. There's the Asimov interview. Okay, cool. Now you dislike me as you want chicken parm. Oh, all right. Sorry. So we're gonna start off, and we have a Starlink launch in about 2 hours, give or take, inside of 2 hours here. There's Starlink Group 623, and I'm actually looking forward to this one because we should be able to see the crew access arm, which should be cool. Or not the crew access arm, the fixed service structure for Pad 40. But here, how about, yeah, this is what I wanted to read. I wanted to look into an article here from Ars Technica regarding Starship. Now, I'm not on the screen here, so I'm going to have to change that. Okay. Hello? Where did I go? What the hell am I looking at? You just gone celebrate. Ha ha ha! Hey, alright. So, Sag. Huh? Alright, so this is an interesting article that I actually found from ours for a change. So check this out. So long story short, so citing slow Starship reviews, SpaceX urges the FAA to double licensing staff. Light theme, my eyes! There you go, pal. So, I mean, don't read too much into this. I will. I'll read it here. I'm just wondering what this article's about, because I skimmed over it, and it brought up a very interesting point here that I actually want to look into a little bit. So, in a remarkably frank discussion this week, several senior SpaceX officials spoke with Ars Technica on background about how working with the FAA slowed down the company's progress, not just on development of the Starship program, but on innovations with Falcon 9 and the Dragon programs as well. SpaceX officials said they want to be clear that the FAA is doing a reasonably good job with the resources it has, and that everybody supports the mission of safe spaceflight. However, they said the FAA needs significantly more people working in its licensing department and should be encouraged to prioritize missions of national importance. In recent months, according to SpaceX, its programs had to compete with one another for reviews at the FAA. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh boy. This has significantly slowed down the Starship program and put the development of a human landing system for NASA's Artemis program at risk. Inefficient regulation, the official said, is decreasing American competitiveness as space programs in China and elsewhere around the world rise. The discussion with Ars was convened by SpaceX in advance of a hearing on Wednesday before the U.S. Subcommittee on Space and Science, at which Bill Gerstenmaier, Vice President of Build and Flight Reliability at SpaceX, will be one of the people testifying. SpaceX hopes that Congress will provide guidance to the FAA on how to operate more efficiently. Maybe the committee can give them the big picture goals that they want to accomplish for the U.S., and then maybe the FAA can be a little more innovative in how they interpret some of the rules and regulations, a SpaceX official said. Their mission is to enable safe spaceflight. We cannot give up on the safety side, but there could be a little bit more emphasis on the enable side. Interesting. SpaceX is on pace to launch 90 rockets this year, primarily Falcon 9 boosters from Florida From Florida. Next year, the company aims to increase that rate by about 50%. Oh, increase that rate by about 50%. So, like 150 Falcon 9s? 140, 150 Falcon 9s this year? That'd be really nice. Yeah, that'd be... That'd be really nice. I'm wondering, Thomas, you say the fleet can't handle it. Maybe some of these operations that are hindering them are Falcon 9 squeezing out more performance for Falcon 9 so they can RTLS for Starlink missions. The RTLS stuff would be my guess, Aqualux. Slick 40 is about to work overtime. You know what? Just on a side note, how many launches has Slick 40 done in the past, like, 5 years as opposed to the past 50 prior? I just am wondering here. Dark Reader is destroying that Wikipedia page, so let's just shut off. Just shut off Dark Reader and refresh the page. Oh no, that page is just completely borked. Alright. I think the question is how fast can they build upper stages? Well, they're building them pretty damn fast. So, let's see. Because the spreadsheet up there is all messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. There were 55 launches from Pad 40 when it went into SpaceX hands. Basically, it was 2007 when SpaceX leased the pad. So we have 55 launches when it was a Titan launch pad. So that means from 1965 to 2005, you got 55 launches. So that's 40 years. All right? Just remember that stuff. So now let's go to 50 years, right? The past 50 years. So we're going to 2015. Let's go to the end of 2015. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 74 launches over 50 years. Guys, I want to reiterate that SpaceX has launched 70 Falcon 9s this year. '74 launches in 50 years. Okay, let's go to 55 years. Actually, hold on 1 second. Let's just scroll all the way up. Yep, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. 40 hit 200 launches like 4 launches ago. I'm just curious, Goalie, how many launches Pad 40 has done in the last 5 years compared to prior. Okay, so, dude, Look at it. Oh my goodness. When you look at it in a spreadsheet like this, or in a table like this, that's insane, dude. All right. So we're not even done with the year. So the past 5 years, this would be to 2018. Let's count backwards this time. At the end of 2015, we were at 74 launches, okay? That's the 74th launch from there. Actually, that was the first landing, too. That's Orbcom 2. Cool. All right. Let's roll. So let's count backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, we passed it. 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115. That's pretty much good enough because that's 5 years. So let's think about this for a second. Let's say 113 launches, because take 2 of them away because it would have been October in the last 5 years, October 2018. So it's done 113 launches in the past 5 years. And then prior to that, give me 1 second. 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86. In the past 55 years, or the past 50 years prior to 2018, 86, and they've done 113 in the past 5. And Goalie, you said it passed 200, so it's at 204 launches total. 113 of those 204 launches have been in the past 5 years. You want something wild? Look at the turnaround for this year. Let's go take a look. January, February. Dude, they're averaging 4 launches a month from there, dude. That's insane. And look, July they hit 5 from 40. August they hit 5. September they hit 6. Hey, RJ, what's up, man? 70-month resub. Dude, can you believe that? That's insane. That's just... Anyway, let's go back to that Ars article. You love to see it. Indeed, you love to see it, man. Oh my goodness, can you believe that? Guys, that's just Slick 40. That doesn't include 39A and Vandenberg. With 39A and Vandenberg, it's even more, which is scary. This is what the shuttle should have been doing. Anyway. All right. So let's get back to that Ars article. Well, Major, they said, the Ars article says that a SpaceX official said they wanted to go up to 140 flights a year, which you're going to need more launch pads, which jives with what we think about SpaceX taking over Slick 37. That makes sense. They need more Falcon 9 pads. Guys, I have a theory that SpaceX is trying to get Falcon 9 operations and Falcon Heavy operations off of 39A. I think they're trying to move Falcon Ops off of there so they can focus 39A on Starship operations, but that's just a theory of mine. This world needs more rockets, not missiles. Yeah, W, there's this very specific reason why I don't like rockets that go up, come back down, and hurt people, because they're not called rockets, those are missiles. I've been saying that for years, dude. When is SpaceX going to take control of their second pad in Vandenberg? SpaceX is using Slick 6. I forgot about... Yeah. But would Heavy fit at 40? No, Creeper. I have a theory that SpaceX is the customer to take over Slick 37 after Delta 4 Heavy goes out. I think SpaceX is going to take 37B and they're going to make it a Falcon Heavy launch pad because they need the mobile service tower for Falcon's extended fairing. But... You know, because, like, okay, think about it here. So right now, SpaceX has 39A for Falcon 9 crew operations and Falcon Heavy operations, right? They're building a crew tower, and we will see it in the launch. If the launch decides to go tonight, you'll see it. They built a crew tower at 40, so crew can ingress into rockets. Meaning Slick 40 will... it could launch cargo and crew dragons now. It could launch cargo dragons before, but now that's late loading for cargo dragons and crew dragons, right? So now, okay, if you're moving crew ops, why do you need two crew access towers? That doesn't make any sense unless you're going to launch a lot of people into space. But I'm pretty sure SpaceX wants Starship for that. So just kind of take Starship and just put it over there for a second. So if you're going to do that, now you need a pad that's just designed for cargo, because you're not going to launch all the freaking time off of a pad where you launch crew from. You don't want to risk it, which is why you don't see many Starlink missions going from 39A. You see crew operations and Falcon Heavies going from there. 40 and Pad 40 or Complex 40 at the Cape and Slick 4 at Vandenberg are the ones doing all the Starlink launches. Well, most of them. Okay, so. Oh, I remember those concepts back in the day. So, I'm thinking here that if Pad 40 is going to become your new pad for crew operations, right? And Falcon Heavy goes to, if what I'm thinking about is right, Falcon Heavy goes to Slick 37B, you're going to need another pad. So Pad 37, or Complex 37 is a 2-pad launch complex. Not a lot of people know that. There's another pad. But nobody's used it since the Apollo program. But it's there. The infrastructure for it is there. So I think SpaceX is going to build 2 Falcon 9 pads at Slick 37. They're going to bring 37A back online for single-stick cargo Falcon 9s. And they're going to have Slick 37B for Falcon Heavy. I'm pretty dang sure. And then Slick 37B is a gigantic complex. I think they're going to build landing pads right next to their launch pads. And then save Pad 40 for crew operations, which basically... If they're trying to get Falcon 9 operations off of 39 so they can start retooling the 39A proper for Starship, it makes a lot of sense. And it also jives with SpaceX's rapid flight cadence and higher more RTLS missions for that higher flight cadence. But anyway, wait, if you don't want your uncrewed ops and crewed ops from the same pad, then how come ULA only has Pad 31 or Pad 41? Because ULA isn't SpaceX and they have different ideas about launching than they do. But you got to remember, Nova, Slick 41 is a clean pad design with 2 different mobile launchers. The majority of those Project Kuiper missions are going to be going on Vulcan's mobile launcher. Right? 38 Vulcan missions. Crew launches with Starliner are going to be done on the Atlas mobile launcher. So that's technically 2 different pads. Or 2 different launchers, at least. Same idea, but slightly different variation, right? Maybe they will do something smarter with the TE at 40 to avoid reconfiguring for Dragon and back. It's possible, Phil, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about. But see, I'm wondering, let's finish this Ars article. Let's take a look. Next year, the company aims to increase their launch rate by about 50%. That is on top of new entrants such as ULA's Vulcan, New Glenn, and other smaller rockets coming online. Then there is increased flight rate by Virgin Galactic, the return to flight by New Shepard suborbital Blue Origin suborbital Taurus rocket, and potential for higher altitude balloon flights. We see a train wreck coming, said one of the SpaceX officials, citing all this work that the FAA needs to perform. Next year could be a pretty dynamic time with lots of providers in spaceflight, said another SpaceX official. Our concern is that even today, Falcon and Dragon are sometimes competing for FAA resources with Starship, and the FAA can't handle those three activities together. So let alone what's coming next year, or maybe even this year, we don't think the FAA is staffed ready to support even that. Oh, boy. No, Solaire hasn't gone yet. Can you imagine, Goalie? Commuting to work, launching a rocket, then coming home, and then just doing that the next day? I'd do that. Eat, sleep, launch, repeat. Literally to a T. That's dude, that's crazy. That's absolutely, I love it. I love it. Keep doing it. Yeah, Solar, it got pushed back, dude. It got pushed back. We're good. So, the company also believes that license applications should be able to opt in to help fund independent third-party technical support to assist the FAA surge in the near term while the agency goes through the hiring process. Time to drop any plans you have this weekend. Victor Glover will be there. Langley open house. That's cool, man. NASA Langley. That's neat. Don't even need to set the alarms. It's crazy, man. SpaceX officials cited several recent examples where it had to defer work or modify its plans due to a backlog of work at the FAA. For example, the company's Falcon 9 launches from Vandenberg Space Force Base sometimes fly over Halama Beach, which is due south of the spaceport in California. SpaceX has been performing calculations based on the flight path and breakup analysis to determine whether the beach needs to be closed. But because this work would compete directly with the FAA Starship analysis, it has put the Halama Beach review on hold and attempted to find nighttime launch windows where the beach would be empty. Where's Halama Beach? Also, Southern Californians, am I saying that right? Oh, that looks beautiful. Oh, wow. Dude, this beach is probably one of the prettiest beaches in the United States by a long shot. Can we street view this sucker? Oh, yes, you can. I'm telling you, man. This part of SoCal, that's just about 100 miles north of Los Angeles, is some of the prettiest places on Earth I've ever seen. Oh, dude, I bet you the surf is freaking killer here, too. Oh, man. Dude, the pads are right over that hill. I can see why you'd want to close this. The pads are right there. They're right behind that tree over the hill in the background. That's crazy. Dude, look at this place. This is a place where people live, man. That's weird. That's weird to me. Meanwhile, at New England beaches, don't go into the water. It'll kill you. Quite literally. Damn, dude. Wow. That is a pretty part of the country, man. And look at the train. The trestle goes right over it, man. Jeez. And then the choo-choo train? Do we have the choo-choo train? This is a real place. Dude. Dude. Does that train go to the pad? No, believe it or not, it goes past it. What's up, Tuning? Why would the water in Northeast kill you? Just the temperature? No, undertows. Tuning. The undertow. Yeah, it'll suck you down under the water because of how the waves propagate up against the soil and stuff. It's the undertow. The undertow kills a lot of people every year because they're like, oh, those waves don't look too... It's terrible. It's really tragic, to be honest, but yeah. You know, the temperature, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't swim it in the winter. I would simply put up 1,000 signs saying inhabit beach at own risk during rocket launches. Yeah. Anyway, all right, cool. That's where that is. I think people assume because Falcon flies every 4 days, on average, that the licensing process is kind of a well-oiled machine. Certainly AST has made it work, and we have made it work, but I can assure you that it's very challenging, it's very cumbersome, and in many cases, we have deferred work that is associated with those programs because we know if we put those documents in front of the FAA, it is going to redirect their attention away from the Starship program and vice versa. There's a very real problem here with resourcing where our programs are competing with each other. Humor journey. In terms of efficiency, SpaceX also said the FAA should lean on NASA, the U.S. Space Force, and other federal agencies for support with the regulatory burden it faces. For example, when SpaceX sought to move its tank farm at 39A in Florida, it submitted paperwork and received approval from both the Space Force and KSC. The company was not seeking to move the fueling operations outside of the blast detonation area, the fence line, but to rather just reposition them inside. However, it also had to get approval from the FAA, and this, again, diverted resources away from reviewing Starship activity. Was this the best use of FAA resources when the Space Force and NASA already signed off on the plans? Okay. A little bit of a interesting question to ask, I guess. SpaceX and its founder Elon Musk have pushed the U.S. government to be more accommodating in the past. For example, about 5 years ago, the company provided extensive data to the U.S. Air Force to convince it to accept an automated flight termination system. In essence, the rocket's onboard computer would sense when there's a problem and self-destruct rather than relying on a military officer at the launch range. The system has now been widely adopted and will soon become mandatory for U.S. rockets. That's true. Yep, that's what happened. A SpaceX official said they would like to see the FAA similarly lean into the future. The range has an operational bent, and they've been very supportive about being able to support our launch rate. They've gotten pretty creative with electronic processes. We send them electronic data, and they send us electronic responses back. They've stepped up and figured out a way that they're pretty flexible with us. What we'd like to do is establish that same kind of positive relationship with the FAA. It's not saying that the relationship is negative, it's just not as efficient as it could be. Interesting. Interesting. That's something I hadn't really considered. That is exactly what I thought. Yeah. When I skimmed over the article, I basically got the gist of it. You know, we always think the FAA is dragging their feet. You know, like that's kind of the SpaceX fanboy theory here, that the FAA is dragging their feet, and that's why, because they don't like SpaceX or something, right? So they're dragging their feet, and they're taking their sweet time getting Starship review. No. SpaceX is bottlenecking them with launch licenses because they launch every 4 days. See, that makes way more sense, man. Like, it's very unlikely that there's some crazy, like, tinfoil hat theory, right? There's some crazy tinfoil hat theory about the FAA dragging their feet, but I mean that still doesn't explain why the Fish and Wildlife Service can weigh in on rocket launches. But I still haven't figured out I still haven't heard a good explanation for that, because right now Starship is ready to go. It's ready to launch. SpaceX is just like, all right. I mean, they did destack 25 today, but they're ready to go. They're waiting on regulatory approval from the Department of Fish and Wildlife to launch a rocket. That's my guess, Aqualex, yeah. What if the FAA just let SpaceX certify themselves? Oh, wait, last time they did that, 2787. Oh, creeper. Ooh, damn, you chose violence today, dude. Jeez. Everything out of imagery runs on basically 1/3 of the human capital they probably should. Just saying. Yeah, I know. Fish and Wildlife is the agency that the FAA uses to clear wildlife from aviation spaces. Interesting. Okay, so they do work hand in hand, which makes sense, but Zeppelin, in the case of rocket launching, there was policy that was basically put into law or put into place 5 years ago that basically said that the FAA should be the one-stop shop, which is very interesting to me. I guess we're just going back on that. They should have built their pad where there's no wildlife or fishes. Middle of Los Angeles or New York would work. No. Cagner, I like you. That's funny. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yep. At some point, they're going to need to shift to the airline model. A blanket launch license is, I think, the framework that is heavily implied in that article there. The FAA probably doesn't have the budget to be that one-stop shop. They did before, Thomas. What happened? Was Fish and Wildlife involved in shuttle launches? No. Anyway, who needs silly humans anyway? Yeah, right? I mean, the technology seems mature. Why not let Falcon 9 have the airline style? That's a good question, SKS. I think SpaceX is asking that same damn question. Interestingly enough, in some capacity, Nova, yeah, of course. The FAA has to issue notice to air missions, or NOTAM for short, that basically denotes a temporary flight restriction. Basically saying, don't fly your plane here, there's going to be a rocket here, and if you fly your plane here, you're going to get in trouble, and you could potentially get hit by a rocket. That's really important. That has been done for as long as I can remember. And NASA needs launch licenses? Yep. Don't get me wrong, I'm in the FAA's court, but like, yeah, nah. That's a reasonable request. It's not a huge experiment. It launches every 4 days. Sounds repeatable to me. I think that's what SpaceX is, yeah, SKS. I think that's what SpaceX is heavily implying, and I think they talked, I'm pretty dang sure they talked to Eric Berger because he put this article out for certain people to see. I'm pretty freaking sure. We're still making a big deal out of that, Thumpar, huh? Yeah, notice the airmen. There you go. All right. Doesn't SpaceX have a timeline with the lunar lander? Well, that's what the last paragraph said, Finn. Yeah, exactly. I heard parts of Starship fell and hit a whale on the head. That's why Fish and Wildlife are saying, hold up, Kappa. Yeah, Hellfish, I'm pretty sure that's why this article was released, so... yeah. It sounds very reasonable to make SpaceX do the experimental thing if they're changing stuff, but if it's a bog standard Falcon 9, then I can't really see the need for all the extra review. Well, SKS, Occam's razor. My guess is that they're upgrading Falcon 9's flight trajectory and expanding its window of capability. My guess is that they're probably doing that because they want to hit 150 launches a year. They're probably stretching Falcon 9's capability to support RTLS operations because there's no way their drone ship fleet can handle 150 launches in 1 year. The ships can't sail back and forth fast enough. Your bottleneck is actually reusing the booster at that point, which that's weird to say out loud. Unless you RTLS it, in which case you don't have that problem. Yeah, I didn't. Jeez, bro. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah, that's Is that, did I really, is that right? Is that true? Did I really say that like that? Yeah, one of the big, the drone ships are the bottleneck. The bottleneck for SpaceX actually hitting 150 launches next year, give or take. We don't know it's 150 off the top of our heads. The bottleneck for that is reusing the first stage. Yeah, and also the fairings too, right? Like, huh. So what you're saying is that Falcon 9 doesn't have the Delta V for true reuse. Well, I think they're certifying more trajectory optimizations in Falcon 9's design and squeezing more performance out of it. That's why they go to the FAA all the time, which explains why the FAA is backlogged for Falcon 9. You know why? Because Falcon 9's design changes. They always try different trajectories. We know that from watching all of them, right? That makes perfect sense. Huh. Well, that's what was implied in the article, SKS. I don't know if you heard me read it back, but that's basically what was said. Because they're certifying new trajectories. I'll bet you they're certifying this new trajectories to be able to put Falcon 9 on a type of flight path where they can come back and land at the launch site, where they could do more RTLSs to eliminate first stage reuse bottlenecks. I mean, you could always just make more fairings. They're not expensive, and if you ramp up, if when you put enough fairings into the pool, that reuse makes sense. I mean, Thomas, do you think? Dude, do you think that... Hang on. That's the fairing recovery ship. This is a picture from Jenny Hauptman here. How many fairings do you think they could fit on the deck of one of those things? ETA until launch. About an hour? Oh no, 8:36. 2 hours. Pushed. If I recall correctly, the most we've seen was 4. Can you stack them like cups? I don't think you can do that. Maybe 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was going to say, if you tee up 2 Falcon 9s, right? 2 and 2, Doug's out there, catches the fairings from one, and the next day catches the fairings from the other. It goes back. The other fairing vessel, Bob, goes out. They pass each other halfway, and by the time Bob gets out there, a day later, you're ready to go again. They're just run a rotation and have one of these carry or grab 2 rocket launch fairings, so 2 sets of fairings instead of 1. They can hold 6. Well, there you go. That solves your fairing bottleneck problem. All you just need to do is put more fairings into the pool of usable fairings, and you're good to go. As a note, the fairing recovery ships support 2 missions each time right now. Oh, okay, there you go. Like they can stack some, but they also have that upper deck without stacking easily 6, with stacking 10. Dude, those ships, Bob and Doug are going to be out there. Sometimes those things are going to be out there for a month. Whoa. That's crazy, dude. You could conceivably add a barge to be towed to hold more. Yeah, that's right, John. Right? That's nuts, dude. So more RTLS missions with wider trajectories and shorter SSRP burns. Also, didn't they work on with the FAA for that system to enable dynamic restrictions? See, Aqualex, that's always been my question. I'm not 100% sure. Like, it seems like we were good to go, and now all of a sudden we're not good to go. Like, that's been my thing with Starship. But I understand the programmatic environmental assessment. You know, is it going to take that much freaking time? Because apparently all the changes that they needed to make to the pad were because of, you know, they were process amendments from IFT-1 for Starship. Okay, that was like 6 months ago. A tug could bring the barge back. John, I think that, dude, SpaceX is going to have a small navy at the end when we're done here, dude. They're going to have a small freaking navy, dude. That's crazy, man. Cold feet, though, for good reason. Plenty of grapes and pushing it too fast in the FAA's memory. Yep. So I just thought of another thing. Why keep the fairings on deck? After a booster lands, meet the ASDS and offload them onto the drone ship, and then have a tug pull the drone ship back. Yeah, Thomas, right? Right? Dude. Okay, so there's a lot of flexibility there with how the SpaceX Navy works. There's tons of flexibility. Interestingly enough. Right? You have tons of options, which is cool. So, I mean, if they're already doing like double fairings, right? Like, don't forget us, wink, wink. Why not treat it like a farm? Bob and Doug as the harvester and us as the grain carts. Yeah, goalie, I got you. Yeah, I know. Yep. Adding a third ASDS for Cape operations likely won't happen since the port is already hamstrung for space. I can't believe this. I can't believe all this is happening right in front of us. I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. I'm like in despair here because they're launching so much you can't keep up with it. Like, man, that picture is old. That picture's a decade old at this point because that's what it looks like now. Where else could they offload? Dude, unfreaking believable. Yeah, I mean, SpaceX uses the same port as a lot of cruise lines here, down in Port Canaveral. Port Canaveral is gigantic, guys. It's a huge freaking port. And then there's the locks right here. That's how you get into the Space Center, by a boat right there. But those locks were only big enough. They were only made big enough to transport a Saturn V stage, an S1C, and the barge. There's clearly a wider berth there, but jeez. Yeah, only a Saturn V. So it's you can only transport a 10-meter core through there. Sorry about that. I mean, anywhere they could pull. Well, the fairing ships could go through the locks, I'm pretty sure. The fairing ships could go through those locks and they could go right up to Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. CCAFS does have a heavy port out here. There's a heavy port for. You could drop off fairings there. If those locks were made big enough, you could just de-integrate Falcon 9s from here. But, yeah. If SpaceX takes up all that space, what will Blue do? I don't know, man. I don't know. Huh. Build more port, build more Burger Kings. Actually, Bill, now that you mention it, I refresh my memory. Did that the build more Burger Kings, did that call for, I mean, that's a deep water port. We know it's already deep water because you can see where from Google Earth it's dredged there. Did that call for expanding the port? I forget now, because if it does, well, then that makes a lot more sense. The issue I see with using another port on the Florida coast is transport of the boosters after landing. We know that in Cali, they put them on a normal barge for transport to Vandy, which could happen at the Cape as well. See, Thomas, I was just thinking about that, but why? Why would you do that? There's a clear path for boosters to be transported via truck this way. Why would you take the drone ship into here, transfer Falcon 9 to a barge, and then ship Falcon 9 horizontally up the Banana River? Why would you do that? That makes no sense. You could do it. Sure, why not? I mean, anybody see any plans for digging a canal out to Roberts Road? Wouldn't that be something? That would be if they were going to add more drone ships into the fleet. Yep. I think they mean shipping it from somewhere else. I think that's where they bring in ICBM subs for loading and test launches. I doubt they would do it from right here, dude. I don't think they would do it around cruise ships. If you pick it up, I don't think they would do it around that part. Around the part where the cruise ships are. Anyway, here's another option for landing. Landing on a drone ship, we have crawlers and barges that can lift, that we go take it off the drone ship out in the ocean and then take the drone ship back. Yeah. Or leave the drone ship there and take it back. Yep. What would be really cool would be a downrange landing pad somewhere inland. I imagine launching east from the west coast. Yeah, the problem is populated areas, human. But yeah, that would be cool. I agree. A fair point. I know they do that around here. They don't do that around here. You know what I'm saying? They don't do it on that part of the port. Not where they're offloading rockets, that's for sure. But rockets do get unloaded somewhere else. For SLS, obviously. I'm talking about core stages. What are you, crazy? What do you think I was talking about? I think the idea was base a drone ship from somewhere other than Port Canaveral, then ship it in. Yeah, maybe. What other ports are within 50 miles? For offloading, nothing. Nothing. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing up here because of the Merritt Island wildlife. What about up here? That is not a deep water port, not even close. Not a deep water port. There's Daytona. Oh, hell yeah. The Cathedral of Speed. If you have enough cores, what's the actual distance limitation? I don't know. I'm not 100% on that one. NASCAR bad. NASCAR bad? Shut up. Shut up, punk. Damn punk bitch. Huh? Sorry. I'll take my time out. Hey, yo! Oh, boy. Anyway. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. It's kind of turned into where else could they offload this many Falcon 9s? It's still bananas to me that the bottleneck at this point is booster reuse. SpaceX used to load and offload in Jacksonville, dude. Yeah. Come on, show us Sebring. Okay, all right, jeez. You say I get distracted easily. Damn. Where are we? There you go. Yeah, it should be fine. Well, they wanted to. All the boosters they were going to return to, they're crashed. Yeah. Respect the bumps. Yep. First stage refurb time is about 2 weeks or so. I've been seeing a lot of 50-day turnarounds, Bill. That's what I'm seeing. So how many boosters are active right now? Please hold. This is not, that's kind of a misleading thing. Let's just, SpaceX booster list. Ah, yeah, this is better. Wow. 17 active that have actually flown. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Oh, wait, no, those are crossed. Yeah, okay. That's nuts, man. Wow. You have your own up-to-date log? All right. All right, I was just opening up the door. $10.58 has flown 17 freaking times. Sort by status. That was the first thing that I did. Wow. Yeah, 58 and 60 have flown 17 missions. That's crazy, dude. What time zone are you in? Nylor Eastern? US. This shows every mission that each core has flown, you know, so it shows 1063 14 times on this list. That's a really weird way of doing that. Look at that, guys. Never in my life would I thought I would see in 1 year Vandenberg having more, Slick 4 at Vandenberg having more launches than 39A. What the frick, dude? What the absolute snot is going on here? Starlink is now 8:36. I know, we checked it. More time for space news. More time to kind of marvel at the numbers, dude. This is unbelievable. These numbers are insane. They're absolutely insane. Look at how many launches Vandenberg has. Vandenberg has 21 launches. 21 launches from Vandenberg. That's insane. Most rockets in the past are lucky to have 21 launches in 1 year. That's a lot. If that, like, Falcon 9 notwithstanding, dude. More! More! Before the SpaceX era, how many were launched from Florida? Well, Skogs, we were doing out some math for Pad 40 by itself. Pad 40 has been online and basically launching rockets since 1965. So, what is that, 60 or 57 years? No, 58 years. In the last 5 years, SpaceX has launched, in the last 5, so we're going from now to 2018. From October 2023 to, from October 2018 to October 2023, they've launched 113 times. Prior to that, in the pad's 50, what is it, almost 55 years prior to that, it was 84 times. So, Pad 40 has launched like 204 times, I think, is what was said in chat. 204 times. 113 of them have been in the past 5 years. So that should give you a good reference. They were averaging, you know, even in the heyday era of the space race where Titan 3s were launching off Pad 40, it was maybe once or twice a year. Maybe. Hey, Pythos, thanks for the raid. If not a rocket's entire lifetime. Yeah, I don't think the Saturn V had 21 launches, Aqualux. Actually, I'm pretty sure it didn't. Apollo 4, Apollo 6, Apollo 9. Well, Apollo 8, Apollo 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 12.
Go at throttle up.
Hey, Ian. 27-month resub. Thank you. Can you freaking believe that? Oh, yeah, Skylab. That's right. So 13. Saturn V, 13 launches. That's it. Guys, this... You know how we look in reverence at, like, we revere the shuttle and Saturn V and the great rockets of the past, right? Even, like, you see this sentimentalness for, like, Delta II and Delta IV. People are going to look, when we're old, people are going to be like, remember Falcon 9, man? That was the rocket that changed everything, dude. Like, that's crazy, man. Would you bet there will be more SLS launches than the Saturn V? I would certainly hope so, Atomic. Do you think Falcon 9 second stage could be stretched at all and separate sooner? I wouldn't change much hardware, Hellfish, on Falcon 9 at this point. I think what SpaceX is doing all in with Starship is a good idea. I think that's fine. That's nuts, dude. I can't believe it. I'm just sitting here looking at this. Like, I haven't checked this in a long time. Look at all of these freaking launches, and we've watched the majority of them, which is freaking crazy to me. Yeah, Bill, exactly. It's just trajectory optimizations from here. I think they're going to try to RTLS more, dudes. That's the only thing that makes sense. That's nuts. These are all the launches from Pad 40. Look, even in the heyday of the space race. Yeah, look at that. 2 launches, 1 launch, 2 launches, 1 launch, 2 launches. There are 3 launches in 75. That's great. 3 in 78, 3 in 79. That's crazy, dude. Yeah, right? Very spicy. The graph shows it really well. Yeah, but it's all screwed up, but yeah. Commercial Titan. Cute. Yeah, look at that. This is what it should be. This is what it should have been over here. Well, then again, the space shuttle. Yeah, I got you. How much do you think Saturn V cost could have gone down if the cadence was increased to a launch every 2 to 3 months for decades? Erudite, what SpaceX is doing with Falcon 9 in terms of rapid launch cadence, you can do with any rocket. You could do this with anything. Barring some type of like crazy manufacturing bottleneck. I've been saying this for years now at this point. You could do what SpaceX is doing with Falcon 9 with the space shuttle. Sure, no problem. Why not? Why couldn't you? It would take a lot of work, but you could do it. It probably would take more work than Falcon 9, but you could do it with any rocket. You know how I know? The shuttle, Erudite, in 1985 launched 9 times. 9 times for a space shuttle. That's almost once a month. For the space shuttle, the most complicated vehicle ever designed. If Challenger didn't happen in 1986, they would have done 24 launches in 1986. In fact, Challenger, terrible day, January 28th, 1986, right? That was the second shuttle mission for that year. They'd already launched one 2 weeks prior, and it was just fine. You could do it with any rocket. It's just some rockets are more complicated than others. You could get the cost down on pretty much everything if you launch it more. With a high launch cadence. I mean, high launch cadence favors simplistic design, which is why I still say that somebody could beat SpaceX on price with solid rocket boosters, because solid rocket boosters are way easier to manufacture. It's just payload demand. Yep. Yeah, Edmana, you covering the launch? Of course. Edmana, yeah, they were aiming for 24 in 1986 and 48 in 1987. 48 shuttle missions. They wanted to launch the shuttle once a week. They basically Falcon 9 is doing what NASA wanted to do with the space shuttle. NASA and the DoD. That's what they're doing. Can you imagine a shuttle doing Starlink missions? You could do it with any rocket. You could do it with Delta IV. You could do it with Atlas V. It's just scaling your production lines and then getting a return on investment. The reason why it's working so well with Falcon 9 is Falcon 9 is pretty simplistic. It's partially reusable, but the shuttle was partially reusable too, right? But the market is there. The market is there because SpaceX made their own demand. Starlink. They made their own demand. And they made it a pretty damn profitable venture. The rocket launches aren't where you're making profits. SpaceX is at this point, they're an internet service provider that also launches their own rockets, right? Like, pretty crazy, huh? Shuttle doing Starlinks, that's a lot of wasted mass to orbit. What? Skogs. NASA came up with a plan in the 80s called the Getaway Special, where the shuttle could just launch multiple satellites. You know, oh, Starlink is a shuttle payload, it's a waste of payloads. But yeah, the aggregate payload space they could fill up with CubeSats and do rideshare missions, and that's what the shuttle was supposed to do, and then they stopped because it got cold feet. I think at scale, solid rocket boosters would be more expensive because the propellant is more expensive. You need knots of aluminum powder, which is not cheap compared to methane or kerosene. Human, you're comparing propellant between a liquid fuel booster and a solid fuel booster. Propellant. Your propellant? What about the vehicle? Are you trying to tell me that making something like Falcon 9 is the same amount of manufacturing time as a pipe? An SRB casing? Are you... What? What are you, crazy? Same thing, yeah, runs. Well, yeah, of course, the propellant would be more expensive, but the booster, I mean, by that logic, an SRB makes a liquid fuel booster makes no sense because an SRB is just a tube. With super much reusability, propellant costs will become a significant factor. Who said anything about reusing an SRB? I never said that. Interesting graphs here. Interesting graphs here. It's the second time you linked that. That's literally the Wikipedia page that I'm on already. I was on that one already, man. It is cool though, Doom. You're not gonna lie. I disagree wholeheartedly, Human. I think you can expend SRBs. You don't even need to worry about reusing them. You could probably keep the cost down even more. Yeah, in scale, sure. Anyway, you could do it with any rocket. It's true. Like, that's the damn truth. You can do it with whatever. Any rocket can do what Falcon 9 does. It's, you know, scale up to those numbers. It's just the profitability. Like, where's the profit? You know. Sorry, I just came back from eating dinner and had that lined up to share. My bad. It's all good, man. Yeah, I was just looking at it, man. I figured you may have just come back or something. Because, yeah, we were just looking at that graph. You see that damn graph? It's ridiculous. Look at this graph! Anyway. Oh, here's another link that's been posted 4 times in chat now. Lovely. What's this? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Didn't a bunch of people from SpaceX repost this? I think this is a Haze Gray video. Watch this. SpaceX did their own version? Yeah. Here, let's get to over here. Watch this. Yeah, that's when the September. I remember that. Yes, Dan. Mm-hmm. I remember them scrambling to get 39A figured out because they had a bottleneck. Here, I'm going to link this video up. You guys go click on it and subscribe to Haze Gray Art. He's amazing. Amazing videos. Later. Falcon Heavy. That's where it, yeah, that was CRS-16. You see it go into the drink. Go subscribe, says the guy that's not subscribed. Oh, I'm not subscribed on this account. We will do that right now. Also, Creeper, do me a favor and shut the up, all right? Oop. 1812 Overture is a great song, but yeah, we might want to be careful there. Only teasing, but okay. I know, I am too. That was a joke. I'm not actually pissed off. If I was actually mad, I wouldn't self-censor. I would just tell you to shut up. Alright, watch this. Alright. 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 I know about Flyout King, yeah. That was from earlier, but yeah, that's crazy. No copyright issues with the 1812 Overture, more than 75 years old. Throttle, you want to hear some bullcrap? A rendition of that song, actually, a cover, is IP. Doesn't count. Which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, but... Yep. Yeah, because, you know, copyright rules and whatnot. Is this the interview with Kiko here? Let me see.
History of all the launches we've been doing. So we started with just this little itty bitty rocket called Falcon 1 that we launched off an island in the South Pacific called Omelek.
Yeah, it's Kiko Donshev. That guy's cool, man.
Then we built our pads at the Cape, just 3 hours north of here, at Slick 40 and 39, 2 historic launch pads, and also one out in Vandenberg, Slick 4E. Now, we had 2 launches in 2010, but we were fundamentally limited because we had to basically produce all of the hardware. We weren't able to catch the rockets. We weren't able to go reuse the vehicles yet. And that really slowed our pace. So you kind of see like 2012, launch 1, we launched 2, we're still learning. 2013, okay, maybe we can start to launch a couple more. Still a huge gap. We go through some development challenges, a couple failures. 2014, 15, we start to pick up the pace a little bit. Then we have an accident. That accident, unfortunately, slows us down for a little bit, right around where we stop here after 2015. But then when we get back to flight on 2016, for the first time, the rocket comes down. And it comes down in one piece. And as soon as that happens, we start to pick our pace up. Because all of a sudden, you went from having to produce all of these machines to being able to reuse, refly, and just focus on maintaining the ones you have. All of a sudden, throwing a rocket away became an unacceptable thing to do. And our pace picked up faster and faster and faster. But even, just go back to 2019, we really only ended up launching like 15, 16 times until we had this dire need, which we'll talk about shortly, which was we had a satellite internet constellation that we really wanted to launch. We needed to launch a lot of satellites. We needed to launch it very, very fast. So we put an immense focus on picking that pace up even more. Focus on our usability, go faster and faster and faster, more launches. From a launch every 2 weeks to a launch every week to a launch every 5 days to, by the end of last year and the start of this year, a launch every 4 and 3 days.
Dude, that is...
We're launching so fast.
That's bananas.
That I made these charts last week, and they're already out of date because we've added 2 flights to this. So over the history, since we started launching rockets, we've flown 200.
Can I? SpaceX showed this before, but it's still mind-blowing. This is the kind of stuff you dream about as a kid. Like, oh man, I want to, it'd be cool if there was a rocket launch every day. This is the whole purpose of why I'm reporting this for Space News and why I reported this bottleneck thing with the FAA. Because, guys, rockets are launching almost every freaking day. We're at that point. Like, this is... That is something... Like I said, I dreamed about that as a kid. Like, oh man, it'd be cool if the space shuttle flew like a 747, like all the time. Like, no, we're not at that point yet, but... There's a rocket launch almost every day. If you count everybody that's launching rockets around the entire world, there's pretty much one every day. It is... I guess the question is, somebody said it in chat. Erasmus, you said it in chat. Where do we go from here? Like, okay, do it with Starship. What's nutty is all the other launch vehicles coming online. The Cape's about to be real busy. Yeah. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Can you believe that? That's the reason why I wanted to talk about this. And now here's some B-roll footage from NASA of the Psyche mission. You guys might like this. So here this is just another Falcon Heavy that went off the other day. Just Missile Row is going to be returning in full force. For real.
15 seconds.
And here we go with the final seconds of launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space.
Rick!
To study the
213 sub. What's up, dude?
Boosters
in yeah, man, don't we all?
15 seconds.
Oh, this is my favorite camera, man. Oh, this is the best. Watch this.
Here we go with the final seconds of launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Watch the thing shudder
5,
around when the thing turns
4,
on. Ready?
3, 2, 1. Engine
Oh, there we go.
Liftoff of Falcon Heavy.
Oh, that's so good, man. Oh, that's so good.
15 seconds.
And here we go with the final seconds of launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7,
Yeah,
6,
Nova suggested,
5,
dude. Let's do it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space.
Did you see how much that camera was wobbling around? That camera's outside of the BDA, the blast detonation area. That's probably like, I don't know, 300-400 meters away. So about quarter mile. It's things shaking like crazy. That's why you don't stand next to these things when they go off.
And here we go with
That
the
camera's
final
over here
seconds
somewhere.
of launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space to study the building blocks of our planet's inner space.
15 seconds.
That's the camera we saw during launch.
Asteroid in deep 9, 8.
We saw that one too. That's
15
nice.
seconds.
And here we go with the final seconds of launch. T-minus
It was a
10,
very metal launch.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
2029 is
4,
when Psyche's gonna get
3,
out there.
2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space to study the building blocks of our
Yep, there's the
planet's
throttle
inner
down.
space.
Center core throttled down. Look at the plumes.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
It looks like this, right? Because the center core throttled down because the boosters are doing all the work so the center core can burn for longer. What a beast mode of a rocket that thing is.
There from the onboard camera on the booster. Beautiful shot there as it goes through the clouds.
Yes, these are clouds. Nope. That guy lost it in the clouds. Oh, he got it. He got it back. Watch. Oh, there it is.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Oh, what a shot.
Here, Joe, the power telemetry are nominal. We're also looking at the data for all 27 engines. And
Falcon is
all
supersonic.
All chamber pressures look good, and Falcon is supersonic now.
Throttling down in preparation.
Vehicle's looking good, pitching downrange.
Freaking beast,
telemetry
dude.
Looks really good.
T-minus 10.
Oh, this is on the back side of the pad. It's about to get real smoky right in here.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition.
Told you.
And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space.
Dude, this
to
footage
study
is
the building
choice,
blocks of
man.
Our planet's inner space.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Very, very choice. Very good footage.
Pressure is nominal.
Oh, the throttle down. Oh, that's really nice. Very nice. Very nice.
There from the
Very
onboard
nice.
camera on the booster. Beautiful shot there as it goes through the clouds.
Dude, that pitch over.
Power and telemetry nominal.
What the frick?
Over here, Joe, the power telemetry are nominal. We're also
Did you see that?
for all 27 engines. And
Falcon is
all
supersonic.
All chamber pressures
Oh yeah,
look good, and
absolutely.
Falcon is
Did you see that pitch, man? Unreal.
Power telemetry,
Look at his
nominal.
drifted.
We're also
The
looking
thing's
at data
the
for
thing's
all
going up
27
like
engines.
this.
Falcon is supersonic.
All chamber pressures look good. And
What
Falcon
the
is supersonic.
absolute frick is
Throttling
happening
down in
here?
Preparation for max Q. Peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
What will happen here
Max
is
Q.
the side boosters will be at full power, and the center core will be at a reduced power to go through max Q to reduce the pressures on the structure of the launch.
IFT1 did that too. Yeah, yeah. It was doing donuts though. It wasn't
30
drifting.
seconds. Start getting ready to
Yeah, the clouds are creating an optical illusion. It's like that plane that was on approach to FSFO that got posted around on Twitter, and people are like, "Oh, there's a glitch in the matrix." I'm like, "Ah, you don't know what parallax is."
Vehicle's looking good, pitching downrange. All telemetry.
And remember, the
looks really
pitch
good.
over starts
There,
before they do the
you see a
roll
beautiful
to go
view
flat
of,
like that. That's crazy.
Falcon
Dude.
Heavy and
27 million for booster, core booster.
All right. Where's this one?
15 seconds.
Oh, side view.
And here we go with the final seconds.
It's kind of an optical illusion, Zay, but the pitch over on the Psyche mission was
9,
pretty hardcore.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy
That's
and
so
Psyche
good, dude.
on a mission to a
So
metal
good.
asteroid in deep space to study the building blocks of our planet's inner space.
Hey, Kuro. What's up, man? This was the Falcon Heavy Psyche mission. These are B-roll footage. This is B-roll footage from NASA. Basically, all the different camera shots of the Psyche mission. So anytime SpaceX does a NASA mission, NASA gets all their cinematographers out there. Now, no, the cinematographers aren't for that. They're for engineering and taking pictures of the rocket, so NASA can see that the rocket's working correctly. NASA has actually, like... So, guys, they basically have IMAX cameras all over the pad on purpose. They do that so they can get nice high-def views of the rocket when it's going up to see if anything went wrong. and see if that matches the telemetry. Like, oh, there was a weird thing that happened with thrust here at T plus 30 seconds. So we have a high def camera staring up the back end of the rocket when it's going up, see if the, you know, the flames change, right? That's what they do. Imaging the actual mission is really, really important for doing future fault tree analysis. I mean, and at the best case scenario, it's just really cool footage to watch.
15 seconds.
Like this.
And here we go with the final seconds.
What was
of
that
launch.
tank? Starship infrastructure, John.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and
Yeah,
Psyche.
Jack. Well, we got an
Mission to
E8
a
for
metal
SLS,
asteroid in
dude.
deep
That's
space
pretty good.
To study the building blocks of our planet's inner space.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
I'd like to see a close-up of the business end on this thing during ignition tech. That'd be really cool.
Onboard camera.
Oh,
Booster. Beautiful shot there.
damn, that's pretty.
Falcon is super.
All right,
6, 5.
let's see if there's any. Oh,
Space
lost the
to
video.
study the air rocket. Start getting ready to have those boosters cut off.
Clouds. All right, see if we can find more.
Liftoff.
I'm looking for not just another 3/4 view of the rocket during liftoff. Let's see if we can.
One.
Be able to reduce power to go through max Q to reduce
Oh.
the pressures on the structure of the launch vehicle.
Coming up in 30 seconds.
Man, that thing just looks like it's going fast because, I mean, it's because it is, but also. You were a day late, was out at KSC on Sunday, Max? Yeah,
Have those boosters cut off.
that's cool. What a freaking beast that thing is. That's crazy, man. The shot is just like the Saturn V photo. It kind of does look like it, right?
Vehicle's looking good. Pitching down range. All telemetry looks really good so far.
These are the camera shots that I'm after. What is this gonna look? I think this is actually the view that we had during the actual mission. What does that have in terms of kilonewtons of thrust? I mean, ballpark, it's got to be 25,000 kilonewtons. Like, that's a very, very gross underestimation. Like, you could be tech with this. If the Merlin 1D makes what I think it makes, you're pushing 28, 29 meganewtons, which is like 5 million pounds of thrust. This Falcon Heavy's thrust is not an insignificant amount of thrust. It's about 2/3 of a Saturn V, which is pretty good, man.
Data is looking really good.
All 27 engines of the Falcon Heavy. Putting
I
down
mean,
5.1
it's
million
no spring
pounds
chicken,
of
man. That's a
thrust.
beast mode of a launch
Standing
vehicle. It's
by
really
now.
good. My thing with Falcon Heavy is that Falcon Heavy wasn't really designed to put bigger payloads in space. It was designed to put regular sized payloads in space further and reuse the boosters. That's what they really designed it for. But it's also really good at launching really small payloads really, really far. Right? But in terms of like doing something like what Saturn V is supposed to do, it's too small. The payload area is the fairing is way too small. You're not going to put anything useful in there to get out to the moon, at least. Unless it's like Gateway or something doing an extreme low energy transfer.
Booster engine cut off. Side booster separation confirmed.
Oh, yeah.
Great shot there. The side boosters coming off the rocket.
MVAC engine chill has started.
And there we start the chill on stage 2 as we get ready for MECO on the center core. Stage 2 will continue chilling down, making sure the fuel and propellants are
CX spotter.
15 seconds.
And here we go with the final seconds of launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7,
Booster
6,
step on the ground hits
5,
different, for real.
4, 3, 2, 1.
We're about an hour away from the Starlink launch, guys.
And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space to study the building blocks of our planet's inner space.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Clouds.
Power.
Q.
Vehicle.
Damn, dude.
15 seconds.
Ooh.
And here we go with the final seconds of launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space to study the building blocks of
Oh, no! Flip the exposure back! What are you doing? Yes! No! Clouds! Damn it! Frick! No, come back! Come back! Please!
Beautiful shot there as it goes through the clouds.
Thank you. Oh, no! The damn clouds!
Power and telemetry nominal.
Come back, come back, come back.
All 27 engines and
Falcon is supersonic.
all chamber pressures look
Great
good.
track.
It is supersonic.
Wow, this is just, dude, that's some skill. There's a dude doing this by hand. That's pretty damn impressive.
Peak mechanical stress on the rocket.
What'll happen here
Max
is
Q.
the side boosters will be at
Oh,
full
come
power.
on,
The center
focus.
core will be at a reduced
Focus.
power to go through max Q to reduce the pressures on the structure of the launch vehicle.
Coming up in 30 seconds. We'll start getting ready to have those boosters cut off.
Oh, the guy got it dialed in there.
Vehicle's looking good.
Nice.
Pitching down telemetry looks there.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
It's very humid that day.
3, 2, 1. Engine ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid.
Dude,
in
I could
deep
watch
space
this all day.
to
This
study
is
the building
fantastic.
blocks of our planet's inner space.
Alright. Clouds are gonna screw that one up.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Gonna make it? Gonna make it?
Over here, Joe.
Gonna make it?
Here, nominal. We're also looking at the data for all 27 engines. And
Falcon is
all
supersonic.
All chamber pressures look good, and Falcon is supersonic now.
Look at how crisp that damn shot is, dude. Wow.
Pulling down in preparation for max Q.
That is a very, very nice track. Oh man, look at the flames go up the side of the vehicle. It's getting stuck in the low pressure between the rocket nozzles in the bottom of the vehicle, so the flames look like they're traveling up the sides.
Coming up in 30 seconds.
Come on, baby. Don't go into the clouds on me.
We'll start getting ready to.
Come on, baby. Yeah, don't go into the clouds, baby. I'll be your freaking Dalmatian. Let's go. Die Hard? No? All right, cool. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. There, I said it. No, I will not be taking questions. Come out to the coast, get together, have a few laughs.
All telemetry looks really good so far there. We see a beautiful view.
Oh, man, look at the plume interaction. That's fantastic. What that means in nerd speak is that because there's 3 boosters, the exhaust from the 3 boosters hits each other, and you get this weird-looking effect going on at the back.
Data is looking really good.
In spaceflight, that's called plume interaction. That's really, really cool.
All 27 engines of the Falcon Heavy putting down 5.1 million pounds of thrust. Standing by now for booster engine cutoff for those side boosters. The center core booster will continue on.
Very, very nice plumage. Perfect 5 out of 7.
Booster engine cutoff.
Oh,
Side booster
dude.
separation confirmed.
damn, that's cool.
Great shot there of the side.
You can see the
boosters coming
nitrogen,
off the rocket.
the nitrogen
And that engine
ACS
chill
firing.
started.
So this big kind of cloud that's coming out of these things is them purging out the 9 engines. They hit them with helium, or at least the outer 8. There's one, the single engine in the center, the E9 engine, is going to fire again real quick. So it's like stop, and then flip the thing over and start again, right? But all the outer engines, you don't want to leave liquid oxygen hanging around inside of them because it'll rust it. It'll rust the motor, so they purge them out with helium. And that's what that big kind of puff you see coming off the back of the boosters during separation is. See it?
Great
They got to
shot
purge
there
the
of
boosters
side
out
boosters coming off the rocket.
because leaving liquid oxygen inside of a rocket motor that's made out of metal is not good for it. You think salt is bad for your car? Liquid oxygen oxidizes things very badly and very quickly if you're not careful. So they purge them out with ullage propellants, basically helium. They inert the motor on purpose to preserve the components so they don't rust out. Yes, LOX will do it that quickly.
MVAC engine chill has started.
Why helium and not nitrogen? Okay. Why helium and not nitrogen? They're using nitrogen for the control thrusters, Spartan. But let's think about it. So the helium that's going through those engines is coming from smaller fuel tanks that are inside of the Falcon 9's main fuel tanks. Those are called ullage tanks, right? Why would you use helium? So basically, let me explain what an ullage tank does so you can make a better guess, right? An ullage tank is basically full of helium, and when you drain, like say you had a bucket, right? You have a bucket of water, right? You poke a hole in the bottom, what's going to happen? The water will spill out, right? But say you put a top on the bucket and then you poked a hole in it. Then it'll do if you try to pour like a 2 liter of soda too fast, it goes blah, 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 right? Basically what that water, gravity's forcing the water out, and because the water's evacuating out, air is being forced in, right? You got to do that with any fuel tank. So like, okay, how does a car, like let's take a gasoline tank, a gas tank in a car. How does that work? Well, as the engine fuel pump pulls the fuel out, they have a vent line overboard, right? And atmosphere fills it up, right? Similar to drilling a hole in top and bottom of a bucket. Okay, so what about a rocket? How does a rocket work? Do you just drill a vent line in the side? Well, yeah, you could do that, except you go to a place where there's no pressure to be able to fill the tank up with air. And you can implode it. You ever see that Mythbusters where they imploded the tanker? Yeah, that. You don't want that happening because that will happen. So these little composite overwrap pressure vessels, they're called COPV bottles. They're about this big, and they're inside of the RP1 in the liquid oxygen tank. What those helium bottles do is they open when the engines turn on, and they pump helium into. The helium basically takes the place where the propellant was, so the tank can stay at the right pressure for feeding fuel and oxidizer into the rocket engine, right? So, long story short, they use helium for purging out. They use the helium because helium's already on board for what's called tank ullage. Now, why use helium for tank ullage? Anybody? Why would you use helium for tank ullage over nitrogen? If you get this right, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky will smile at you. It's lighter? Weight has nothing to do with it. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull? Less mass. You got it. 1.21 gigawatts! Great Scott! It makes your voice funny. Yeah, it makes the rocket engine funny too. Like the rocket exhaust starts to get weird. No, it's less mass. Less mass. Seriously. And the name of the game with Delta V, how far the rocket can go, is that the more fuel you have on your rocket and the less rocket you have on your rocket, the further you go. The faster you can accelerate. The faster you can change your acceleration. That's the rocket formula in plain English. You need more fuel, less rocket. You'll go further that way. Right? Funny how? Funny like a clown? Like I'm here to amuse you? What the frick is so frickin' funny about me? Huh? Tommy, he knows what he said. He knows what he said. What's so funny about me? Funny how? Huh? How am I funny? Anyway.
And there we start to chill on stage
So
2.
they purged the... Sorry. They purged the engines out with helium. So to make sure that the oxidizer doesn't corrode everything inside of it.
3, 2, 1, engine ignition.
Yep. Ullage propellants,
And
John.
liftoff.
This is a nice
Liftoff
view
Falcon
of
Heavy and
something.
Psyche on a mission to a metal asteroid in deep space to study the building blocks of our planet's inner space.
They could use hydrogen for the kerosene tank, but I guess that would add complexity. I would not use hydrogen for tank ullage, human, because hydrogen's reactive. Helium is inert, so is nitrogen. I would not use hydrogen. Not especially gaseous hydrogen. Gaseous hydrogen, technical complexity, yeah. You wouldn't be able to store the ullage tanks at high pressure. Yeah, it would just
Vehicles
leak.
pitching down range.
And it's reactive. It'll make stuff explode.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Well, oxidizer makes stuff explode. Hydrogen explodes really well when combined with an oxidizer. That's just, you're asking for technical complexity.
There from the onboard camera on the booster. Beautiful shot there as it goes through the clouds.
Yeah, for the oxidizer tank, we'd be having a bad day. Oh, man. Look at the roll program. Oh, this is beautiful.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Look at this, man.
We're here to do all the power telemetry.
Where did you find this footage? It's NASA's B-roll footage from the Psyche mission, Cloudy. Here, I'll link it up in stream. It's fantastic. You just were able to just review all different kinds of footage here. It's fantastic,
All
dude.
chamber pressures look good, and Falcon is supersonic now.
Throttling down in preparation.
Yeah,
for
man,
max
look at the
Q.
shadow change. Look at that pitch over. That thing is just it's trying to do a nosedive, but not, you know what I mean?
Max Q.
The side boosters will...
Every NASA mission has this, Cloudy. That's why I love looking at it. You're going to see stuff that you don't normally see on the cast.
Pressures on the structure of the launch vehicle.
Look
Coming up
at
in 30 seconds.
that.
Start getting ready to have those boosters cut off.
What an insane vehicle this is.
Vehicle's looking good, pitching down range. All telemetry looks really good so far, Daryl. So we see a beautiful view of the Falcon Heavy and center core and side boosters there. Data
I'm
is
sorry,
looking
it's like
really good.
hypnocizing, dude, watching the
All
plumes
27
down there.
engines of the Falcon Heavy putting down 5.1 million pounds of thrust. Standing by now for booster engine cutoff for those side boosters. The center core booster will continue on.
I want to see the separation. This is going to look fantastic, man.
Booster engine cut off. Side booster separation confirmed.
Oh. Whoa.
Great shot there of the side boosters coming off the rocket.
Dude, I never noticed that. Hold on, back it up just a smidge. I never noticed that. Look at the load transfer. For the split second that the booster shuts off and the center core is dragging them, it's for about a second. Look at it load up these struts. I've never noticed that before. It's very, very likely that every Falcon Heavy mission past has done this, but watch the strut. So these guys are just, those things on the outside are just to hold the thing in place. That is the primary load carrier right there. That's where most of the thrust from this booster is being transmitted through. You know how I can tell is because you have a strut that's going vertical here. That's that guy in the center. But
Separation
watch.
confirmed.
Here, we got to back up just a little bit more. Watch when it gets the booster engine cut off. Watch the struts. Watch the struts
Side
unload.
booster separation confirmed.
Oh, jeez. Did you see that?
Center core booster will continue on.
Watch.
Booster engine cut off.
Did you see that?
Side booster separation confirmed.
Dude, that's nuts, man. The whole booster kind of falls back a little bit and then it separates. That's cool. You've noticed it before. Last time you noticed it, you were explaining how it's like a trailer ball. Oh, that piece, but not how the struts unload. Yeah. Hired, I've explained that. It's basically a trailer hitch. But that was Starship, dude. That was the Starship umbilicals. But that does look similar to it. But watch, for the split second that the booster shuts off, the whole system unloads. Because the booster is pushing, right? And then when it's not pushing, it's basically being towed by the center core, right? To trailer hitch, right? And then it separates.
Now for booster engine cutoff.
Watch right around the rim
Side
of the
center core
stage
booster
right
will
here.
continue
Right? Right?
Booster engine cut off.
Right there.
Side booster separation confirmed.
Oh, that's killer, man. That's really cool. I love watching this footage for stuff like that. Just that little thing right there. That's really neat, man.
Started.
There we start to chill on stage 2 as we get ready for.
Yeah, exactly. The twang. It's a little twang maneuver. The boosters are pushing, right, and then they shut the motors off, and they're being towed, and it unloads the strut, and then it separates. That's really freaking cool, man. That's really cool. I love seeing small stuff like that. You know, because you think, you know, you see the rocket go up. They look like these super rigid structures. No. They flop around. They wobble just like in KSP. They wobble around, but you don't really see it. It's very subtle. They don't wobble as much as KSP. All right, let's be real. But they're not like perfectly straight and perfectly rigid. There's constant forces unloading and loading up. The whole thing is a spring. It's really cool. I think that's really neat, man. That's really cool stuff that you just don't see. You don't see that during the cast. Should have used auto struts. I know. What the hell's wrong with Elon? Jeez.
Next up is main engine cutoff of that center booster.
I'm talking about something different, Aqualex. But yeah, those things on the side, they're pusher. Yeah, that makes sense.
Succession, main engine cutoff. The center core stage will separate.
And that's why the center core is so much more beefy and took way longer to develop. I mean, it's only taking, what, an extra... Let's think about it for a second. I mean, that's an extra 20 meganewtons of...
Stage separation confirmed.
20 meganewtons of thrust. No wonder that thing had to be beefy. I mean, when you say it like that, hello.
You're looking at the second stage in front of you, lighting up
And
inside
back
back
ignition.
engine.
Yeet! That little tripod thing reminds me of the shuttle for the external tank. Well, that's a bipod strut, T-Man, but yeah.
Separation confirmed.
Oh, whoa. Super high-def footage. Oh, this is killer. So, those lines right there are venting lines for thermal conditioning on the stage. Basically, they'll start to get this to operating temperature, like pretty much like how a car, you know, you sit there, you got to idle the car for a second to get it to operating temp. The rocket has to do that too, but its operating temperature is like minus 200 C or something. They're flowing liquid oxygen through there, and as the liquid oxygen exchanges heat with the metal parts and cools them down, it turns to gaseous oxygen, and then it's vented overboard. That's what those vents are. There's more on the other side too. He said moron. I made sound effects. Sorry.
And back ignition.
See the vent line? And then it'll shut for a second. Woohoo! Stiffener ring separation.
Center core.
Loss of video.
Bermuda.
Calling out the communication stations.
Boost back.
Oh, this is looking inside of the payload fairings. So SpaceX with these payload fairings put the acoustic dampers in there. See all these pads? When they have a sensitive payload, they line the inside of the fairing with, well, sound deadening. That's what it is. Comparatively to like a Starlink mission, the fairings for Starlink don't have the sound deadening on them because Starlink doesn't care. But there's the rim of the fairing right there. Watch. It's gonna go like this.
Has been
Yeet! Bye-bye.
Right now.
And there go the fairings.
And right there, those two spots are where payloads that weren't ready for this mission were supposed to go, but didn't. It's just literally an empty payload mount. Whoops.
Revealing Psyche to the atmosphere. You can see the fairing falling away back to Earth. SpaceX has their recovery vessel.
Vehicle is on a nominal.
I got you, W. Thank you.
Their recovery vessel, Bob, is out in the waters right now.
I think those...
looking to recover both of them.
Yep, the fairings did get recovered, Nova. Repost from above. I had a curious thought. Obviously, commercial launch is more money-friendly than NASA launches. What do you think of the future where the vehicles are all commercial, even the big exploration stuff, but NASA runs a program while utilizing non-NASA-owned vehicles? It would be nice, Twisted, to get to that point, but it would be nice to get to that point, dude. But honestly, I have a real problem with NASA being beholden to commercial interests, even if they're commercial launch providers like Elon that we trust, right? I have a real problem with NASA scientific exploration being beholden to a commercial contractor. I don't like that. I really don't. I think NASA should have their own in-house stuff. NASA could eventually use more off-the-shelf components and eventually switch to all off-the-shelf components sometime down the road. Basically when like a rocket is maybe as cheap as an airplane or something. Maybe in the future, which, I mean, that could be on the horizon sooner rather than later. But I really have a big problem with, you know, science being beholden like to a commercial contractor. Because what's saying the commercial contractor can be like, for instance, I'll give you an example, right? It's 2023. Strange things happen. So just bear with this example. You're gonna turn your head at it and go, what? But think about it. Say there's a commercial launch provider with a guy that, you know, the owner of that company is crazy and doesn't think that like climate change exists or something stupid like that and refuses to launch payloads. I mean, maybe NASA would go to somebody else, but that's still hampering science, at least on a small scale. And I don't like that. I don't like having the potential for that to happen. Simultaneously, you know, one could make the argument that happens anyway, even though NASA uses their own vehicles off the shelf. So, like I said, I don't think it necessarily is warranted right now, but in the future, sure. Yeah, absolutely. When there's a much more healthy and competitive commercial market, sure. Basically, where a millionaire can go down to the store and buy a Falcon 9 to launch into space, that like you can get in a Cessna and fly it around, then now we're talking. Sure, absolutely. Right? It's a good question, though, nonetheless. This is a dumb question. There's no such thing, Luminous, as long as you're actually asking questions, you know? The moon isn't made out of cheese, okay? But why do you see the black mesh still shaking near the engine? The black mesh. What are we talking about here? Oh, the multi-layer insulation, MLI. That's Mylar wrap. So it's a space blanket. It's not billowing in the wind, per se. It's rocket engines go through insane vibrations. That's what it's coming from.
SpaceX has their recovery vessel.
Now it does seem to be pulsing a little bit. What not a lot of people know is that Falcon 9 second stage has attitude control systems on it, just like the first stage does, the nitrogen. And they could be pulsing the nitrogen thrusters, they're up there. That's a good question, dude. They could be pulsing them, and it looks like they kind of are. But yeah, that's what's going on. It's the ACS. I'm like 90% sure. Yeah, the second stage, basically, the second stage when it's up in space, it's just kind of floating around, right? There are usually thrusters at the bottom of second stages, right? if we go to this stage separation footage, right? So there are thrusters usually up here, but the thruster's right in the inner stage because aerodynamics, right? This inner stage is where the Falcon Heavy center core connects to the second stage engine. The rocket actually isn't structural. It's kind of hanging out inside of here. The primary structural carrier is attached to basically where this camera is, which is the bottom rim of the tank of the inner stage. There is a little thrust structure on the second stage there, and there is an attitude control system. SpaceX just never shows it because there's no camera angles that can kind of look up the business end of the second stage except for that first stage one. But you can't see it on that first stage camera because, see, the thrusters are in here somewhere. I don't know exactly where they are, but the reason why the MLA is pulsing around is because the nitrogen thrusters are helping steer the stage. So when like the rocket engine is off, those thrusters can help turn the stage around and point it in the right direction.
Looking at the second stage in front of you, lighting up its
MVAC
back
ignition.
engine.
They're somewhere around there. I don't know exactly where they are.
Separation confirmed.
And there it goes. You're looking at the second stage.
Yeah. Did you see? So, Luminous, check this out. Back it up just a smidge. Take a look. Take a look at the staging camera. So, during staging, SpaceX has pneumatic push rods. There's there's 4 of them technically. There's 3 that are used for the initial separation push. And then there's a push rod that's actually inside of the nozzle that gently pushes on the nozzle to keep the rocket in the second stage centered inside of the inner stage so the rocket doesn't tap the sides. Those pneumatic things push the rocket away, but you still have to go start the rocket engine. Remember I was talking about ullage propellants, right? During staging is actually super complicated. It's not just hitting the space bar like in Kerbal and you're just like, oh, all right, we're good. Staging is actually super complicated because how do you settle the propellants in zero gravity? In a microgravity environment, how do you settle your propellants? Your first stage stopped, and guess what? All those that sudden deceleration will basically accelerate, going from under an acceleration to nothing will shoot all your propellants in your second stage forward. And you don't want your engine ingesting air, that's for sure, or helium. That's really bad. Helium ingestion breaks rocket engines real quick. It's like the same thing as like if you poured water down the intake of a gasoline engine. That would also break things. Basically, you don't want to ingest anything that doesn't belong in there. So you got to settle those propellants. So Luminous, watch. When the rocket engine isn't on, after the pneumatic push rods separate, you can see the Mila. It'll actually float around because the ullage thrusters, those ACS thrusters, are actually just giving the second stage a little bit of a push and a little bit of a righting to keep it on an even keel. Watch. Ready?
Confirmed.
Right?
And there it goes.
Here.
You're looking at the
See
second
it?
stage in front of you, lighting up its
MVAC
back
ignition.
engine.
They give it a little bump to settle the propellants and then fire the engine. Staging is nuts, dude. It is really complicated. And I'm telling you, SpaceX makes it look easy. It's just like, oh, all right, stage separation. This is a very complicated sequence of events, especially that prop settling. Prop settling is really tough to do. Now, think about that when you have to relight a stage. So like what the Saturn V did, doing translunar injection. So with the Saturn V, with the third stage, the S4B, they circularized with it. And then they did an orbit to make sure everything was good. And then they relit the stage and sent it out to the moon. You've got to settle the propellants somehow. This is it's complicated. It's hard to do. Because propellants will just float around. There's nothing to say that they need to be at the bottom of the tank where the pickup is. Right? Crazy, huh?
Center core FTS is saved. Bermuda.
Calling out the communication stations.
Boost back.
This picture is cleared from SpaceX. All right. Let's see. So the ACS is on there oh my gosh, stubby. I hate it. I hate it so much. There they are. That's the thruster cluster. 1, 2, 3, and 4. See them? Thruster clusters. 1, 2, 3, and 4. See, that's actually super similar to Centaur. Super similar to Centaur. There's the pneumatic push rods right there. 1, 2, and 3, right? And these are the engines when they're not covered up. They're not covered in any of the Mila. And see this lip right here? luminous, that's where the interstage connects right here. And the camera that you see is that right there. That's the camera. There's two of them, actually. There's another one right here. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. There's two of them looking at the engine so they can see both sides of it. So they have them basically in 4 times symmetry, right? If 12, 3, 6, and 9 are here, there's two of them here and there's 2 of them down here. Each one of those clusters has 3, right? So like that cluster right there is going to have a thruster pointing this way, a thruster pointing that way, and a thruster pointing back. So if you have one pointing this way, one pointing that way, and then one pointing on the long axis of the vehicle, that basically gives you all axis of steering and also roll control. Note the use of pool noodles. Oh, there's off-the-shelf components like this all over the industry. SpaceX in the early days was wrapping these. They couldn't afford Mila. They couldn't afford the foil, and they were wrapping them with trash bags. No, I'm not making that up. That's been confirmed multiple times. Shorty MVAC looks okay from this angle. Get out, T-Man.
Go off into
There's the separation right there. Ah, here's the stuff that we wanted.
Doing launches, Daryl. That was a beautiful sight.
Here it comes.
Oh, this is nice. I don't know how expensive it is, 7. It's something space age, so it's probably.
Boom is great for us. I'm sure Jim is excited over there. There's the second one. I'm sure the hostess over there is feeling that really well.
Literally,
Yeah, very
the
nice.
monitors were shaking.
I actually went looking as to why the boosters are staggered. I actually thought it might have something to do with trajectory, but no, it's the booster stagger is because of slight difference in performance between the boosters during boost back. Just a slight, even a like 1 or 2 kilonewton variation in the boost back burn can. Or like maybe one booster takes a little bit longer for the thrusters to turn it around because it hits turbulent air or something. That's why they stagger them. They don't stagger them because they interact with each other or there's any problems there. It's just slight differential performance during the boost back phase. Yeah, that's actually right from somebody that works at SpaceX. Believe it or not. I can get you the post if people are wondering. Butterfly effect of rockets. Was the Falcon Heavy test flight all new boosters? Yeah. Give me one moment. I'm finding the post. I can't find it. It is Kiko Donchev, who is the he was that guy from that presentation that we watched a second ago on Space News with all the launches. He's the VP of Launch Operations. He's the one that said that on an X post somewhere, but it doesn't matter. Let's finish watching that Psyche footage.
As both those boosters broke the sound barrier.
And we just heard booster landing confirmed, as we see on the screen. Both
And
back
back up.
off the transonic.
Very nice.
Landing burn started.
Here it comes.
I don't know, Daryl, but that sonic boom was great for us. I'm sure Jim is excited over there. There's the second.
That sucks, Thomas. Oh, hello.
I'm sure the host desk over there is feeling that really well.
Literally, our monitors were shaking.
Look at all the look at all the press cams, all the remote cameras right there.
As both those boosters broke the sound barrier.
That's freaking rad,
We
dude.
just heard booster landing confirmed, as we see on the screen. Both
And
back
back up
landing
now.
zone 1 and 2. Everything looks great.
Except your microphone's not plugged all the way in.
Through a thin layer of clouds.
We hear the call out for transonic.
Oh! Oh, hello. Nice.
I don't know, Daryl, but that sonic boom was great for us. I'm sure Jim is excited over there. There's the second one. I'm sure the hostess
That's
over there is
freaking
feeling
awesome,
that really
dude.
well.
That's so damn
Literally,
cool.
our monitors were shaking as both those boosters.
Encino, 35 months. Thank you.
I don't know, Daryl, but that sonic boom was great for us. I'm sure Jim is excited over there. There's the second one. I'm sure the host desk over there is feeling that really well.
Literally, our monitors were shaking as both those boosters.
This
broke
looks
the
like it's on
sound
top of the
barrier.
VAB. That's probably what it just said, but I was looking at chat. Oh.
Hangar AE, just a couple miles away from this landing zone, we certainly hear it and feel it.
Yep, I see now that the side boosters are supersonic.
Oh,
transitioning to transonic.
Come on.
That's a shot of the booster through a thin layer of clouds.
You heard the call up for transonic.
Where are you?
Landing burn
Stage
started.
terminal guy.
Here it comes.
Crane!
I don't know, Daryl, but that sonic boom was great.
That's
for us.
awesome.
I'm sure Jim is excited over there. There's the second one.
Speaking of sonic booms, why did the shuttle produce a double sonic boom? No matter its speed, there should only be one boom. The nose cone and the wing leading edges. Twisted. So, a little bit about hypersonics. I mean, and supersonics. You wouldn't know about this. All right, you wouldn't know about this because, you know. I'm just messing with you. So Twisted, you know, like when you get near the sound barrier, basically you have a shock, a supersonic shock, right? And that supersonic shock, the angle of that shock is entirely dependent on your speed. Okay, so when you're getting into hypersonic, that shock catches on fire. I know, right? So now you have a wave of fire, right? And the reason why the shuttle's leading edges, right, have that reinforced carbon on it is because the shuttle's nose cone, the wing leading edges are outside of the shock. So the shock goes directly over the wings, okay? And now that's with hypersonics, right? Even when you get down into supersonic, you're still dealing with that bow shock right there. And basically, the nose cone, the angle that it's coming off on the nose cone goes over the wings. So that means parts of the parts of the delta wing, when the shuttle is in the transonic regime, is, outside of that shock and breaking the sound barrier on its own. That's why you hear two sonic booms. So with Falcon, the kind of boom that you're hearing is the engine doing that, and because the engines are kind of the first thing to hit, right? And then the landing legs kind of tilt out to the sides. That makes the second shock because they're outside of the cone that the engines are making. And then the third one you hear is the grid fins. You hear three, and that's why the third one is always kind of a little bit lower than the first two, and why it's a little bit after, because you hear boom. The shuttle, you just hear boom boom from the nose and the wings. And it has to do with shock, with boundary shock, I think is what it's called. Here, there's a really good visualization of the shuttle in the wind tunnel. Here, I'll show you. See what I'm talking about here? If you're looking at this as a three-dimensional cone, the wings stick out of that three-dimensional cone. See that right there? That's the second sonic boom that you hear. And that is the reason, like I said, that cone is on fire when you're going Mach 20. That's the reason why the shuttle's leading edge, why the RCC on the leading edge goes basically from the strake to the outside of the wing. Because depending on your speed, the speed actually entirely depends on the angle that thing is pushing off from. The faster you're going, the steeper the angle that shock comes off the nose. So when the shuttle's going Mach 25, right, for instance, when the shuttle's going Mach 25, that shock cone, the shock from the hypersonic shock goes out here somewhere, and it goes over this part of the wing. It goes over the armpit. I call it the armpit. It's basically where the strake meets the delta wing. It starts over here, and then as the shuttle slows down, the angle of that shock actually moves out further and further and further and further and further, right? And then from there, you know, once you get into the subsonic or this, you know, once you get like sub Mach 5, it's somewhere out here, and then when the vehicle's transonic, right, basically right when it gets back to the runway, you just hear the very, very outside edge of the wing, and that is where the second sonic boom comes from. Really cool, right? That's why you have a strip of reinforced carbon-carbon here, because of the hypersonic plasma knife that comes out over the wings. Yeah, you lose that, you're done. You need the leading edges in the nose cone. You can lose tiles. That's not that big of a deal. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to lose tiles, but you do not want to lose the gray parts. The gray parts are the most important. Hey, on this hypothonic. That's right, hypothonic. We're gonna go punch the shuttle right in the face. The shuttle's gonna punch the atmosphere in the face, and it's gonna catch on fire. That's exactly what happened. Mike Tyson is my hero. For what it's worth. Nobody's better.
I'm sure the hostess in there is feeling that really well.
Yeah, Wiz, that's unfortunately what happened at Columbia. They lost a piece of the RCC at the armpit, so yeah, that's bad. No, Joshy, it was Columbia. Yeah. That is dude, even if STS 107 didn't happen, we could have told you that. Because shuttles had that leading edge basically from the start. Columbia had it on the first flight. You need that because that boundary layer, the shock layer, when you're going supersonic or even when you're going hypersonic, is on fire. It is. Think about it like basically shooting a plasma cutter. Actually, a plasma cutter at anything. Like if you ever used a plasma cutter to cut metal, it's that. It's the same type of thing hitting the wing leading edge. And the RCC, believe it or not, you took a plasma cutter to it, it'd be fine. I mean, a plasma cutter would probably punch a hole through it because it's designed for a spread of plasma as opposed to a focused point. But I digress. But that's basically what that shock is. When you're going anywhere between Mach 5 and Mach 25, it is basically a fire sword, like a lightsaber hitting the side of the shuttle, like if you like Star Wars. Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson's better. Pummel that son of a... Sorry. Anyway. Boxing. It's nice to say it was going to get the suborbital velocity. Yeah. Columbia, I will still say to this day, dudes, Columbia's a freak accident. I don't really think that's any type of crazy design flaw. I mean, the bipod strut could have been done better, but the forward bipod strut is where they had a problem. But that forward bipod strut, basically the shuttle had scrubbed a bunch of times. The tank was not designed to reuse last time I checked. They scrubbed STS-107 like 5 or 6 times. Like I said, reusing an external tank, I'm pretty sure is not in the shuttle's purview, even though that's basically what they were doing. They tanked and detanked, tanked and detanked, tanked and detanked, tanked and detanked. And it only broke in such a way to come off after filling the external tank up with fuel a bunch of times and scrubbing the mission and then doing that over and over and over and over and over again. And even then, they did that in the past and parts of it came off. None of it ever hit the shuttle. This one in a million shot. If that piece of foam that comes off the tank goes like about this much underneath the wing, Columbia is sitting in a museum right now. We're talking about this much of a difference, dude. Complete freak accident, man. Like Death Star trench run. Oh, I can't bullseye that. I used to bullseye Womp Rancid by T-16. They're not more than 2 meters. Like that kind of craziness. Like the force needed to happen to make that happen. You could launch 1,000 more shuttles, I guarantee you, and that would never happen ever again. It just sucks. That's why it sucks, man. Yeah, exactly, Krulani. That's what not a lot of people know. They, because that mission scrubbed so many freaking times, right? At that point, you're reusing an external tank. You're reusing something that was never designed to be reused because the external tank is designed to be one and done, and then that's it. So, yeah, tanking it and detanking it all that time weakened all the components on it, especially the forward bipod strut. But even, like I said, even then, they had that. They launched that stuff before. Parts came off, the bipod strut came off, and it didn't hit the shuttle. It was fine, right? That's what sucks so much about Columbia. It's just terrible, man. It's terrible. Sorry for all the questions, but did the shuttle also have thermal protection on the top side, the white areas? The white areas are fire blankets. Yep, Mila. Or not Mila. Mila is the silver stuff on Falcon. Those are Nomex. Yep, Nomex. There's 4 principal components to the shuttle's thermal protection system, dude. There's the reinforced carbon-carbon, the gray parts. That part, those parts, don't lose those parts. And then there's a secondary, tertiary, and then the back, basically the quadriary, whatever is after tertiary. So that's the main thermal protection system on the nose cone and the wing leading edge. The tiles are here for parts where that fire sword that I'm telling you about gets close to the shuttle. Now look, once again, look at this reentry heating right here. Look at how close the shock is to the bottom of the shuttle over the top of the shuttle. That's why the top of the shuttle has white tiles on it and the bottom of the shuttle has black tiles on it. Because the black tiles are thicker. They can absorb more heat. They're called HRSI, or high temperature silicate tiles, right? I forget what HRSI stands for off the top of my head. But the HRSI tiles are the darker tiles, these ones. Those are the ones, yeah, those are the tiles. Now, don't get me wrong, you definitely need those. Because once again, that fire sword is so damn close, especially up at the front. That's where the tiles were the thickest, right? The tertiary system is the LRSI tiles, the low temperature tiles. So the white tiles on the top, you can see right around the flight deck of Endeavour right here. There's tiles right there. The reason why is because, once again, you go back and look at this. See right here, see how it's a lot brighter? Some of this shock, and especially at higher speeds, when the angle of your shock here goes right up the nose of the shuttle and hits right onto the glass. It's only for a little bit, but it does. It gets near it and hits it just a smidge. You have darker tiles up there, and you have the black tiles and the white tiles right next to each other. Because, yeah, for a split second, right, when you're going Mach like 23 or something, that fire sword comes up here and goes over the windows. Crazy, right? That's glass. The glass on the shuttle basically could withstand a plasma cutter. That's pretty nuts when you think about it. We're talking insane engineering here. And then the low temperature areas, they were using Nomex. They glued Nomex to the side. There's fire blankets. That's everything else where you see these kind of patches. It kind of looks like a quilt. Right there. Yep. And then there's just the skin of the space shuttle. There's just painted. It's just painted right here. See these parts? Where the United States is? You notice how there's not much text on areas that get really high temperature because that paint gets scorched off. The relatively low temperature areas where the fire blankets are, and then there's actually, I'm not going to say there's no thermal protection here, but this is a super low temperature area where the structure of the vehicle can actually withstand it. Right? See where the text is, right? You could actually see right here where the fire blankets go up like stairs almost. And now if you look at the ohms pods, you can see which part of the ohms pod gets the hottest. There's a split second during the shuttle's reentry where some of the plasma comes up and over past the sides of the payload bay above where it says United States, and some of that plasma hits the outside of the ohms pod. That's why they put darker tiles there, because sometimes they get scorched. Probably still ceramic-based paint. It's some aerospace-grade stuff. That's not just painted aluminum, Tessa. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not 100% sure what that component is, but I know it's not enough. It's something that can withstand some heat, but it's not designated a thermal protection system. The 4 parts are the RCC, dark tiles, light tiles, Nomex. And if you really like the shuttle program a lot, the interesting thing is, throughout the shuttle's tenure, from flying the dang thing a lot, they reduced the amount of tiles on the orbiters. on the early orbiters like Challenger and Columbia, these were all lighter tiles. These were all white tiles because they weren't sure how the plasma was going to interact with the side of the payload bay. You know, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour eventually just had all this changed to the Nomex because they figured out the Nomex could take it. Pretty cool, huh? It's a beast mode of a vehicle, dude. I love that thing so much. I hope Starship takes the torch and proves that reusable spaceflight is a thing, because the shuttle tried to do it with a hand tied behind its back, which sucks, but it is what it is. Pretty cool though, huh? Good question, Swisted. Ask me these questions all day. I have them just rattling around in my head because I love the space shuttle. It's a monster of a vehicle. Here's a good example of when you see shocks inside of... Oh, that's cool. Using ferrums. That's really neat, man. A lot of the shuttle research lives on in motorsports. Yeah, that's right. I think EJ likes the space shuttle. Nah. Maybe a little. Like I said, man, there's a reason why NASA chose this over, like, SERV and everything else, because this thing is absolute god tier. S-tier design. It's so ridiculously smart. I don't think people realize how smart that design is. It's really good. Really good. How heavy was the shuttle stack at launch, and how much thrust did it produce? So each booster produced 12,000 kilonewtons of thrust, and the shuttle engines produced 2,400 kilonewtons of thrust each. So you have 24 times 3. So that's 7.2 meganewtons from the 3 shuttle engines and 24 meganewtons from the SRBs. So 24 plus 7. So we're pushing, yeah, it's like 32 meganewtons of thrust. So what's that in Imperial? That's like 7.3 million pounds of thrust. So right there, Tech, you can derive pretty much how heavy the shuttle stack is. It's below 7 million pounds. But almost 7 million pounds. Yeah, it's heavy. Solid rocket fuel, man. Can we see a stacked shuttle? Yeah, sure. I'm sure I have. How about 2 stacked shuttles? I have plenty of good pictures in my shuttle repository here. NASA dropped some HLS news at the ISA. Here's some official documents describing some work. Oh, word. Probably 6.9 million pounds of thrust. Yeah, Tessa, we'll just call it that because nice, yeah. How's 2 shuttle launches with a rainbow? The closest we ever got to making Armageddon actually happen. The movie, not actual Arm. You know what I'm trying to say. Shut up. Trivia question for the day. RS-25 tested today previously flew on what missions? I know that's engine E0525, Skogs. I have no idea what missions it flew on prior. I thought it was a test development motor. But I'd have to go look. Don't want to close my eyes. Don't want to fall asleep, 'cause I miss your shuttle. And I don't want to miss a thing. Are we ready to go? Oh yeah, baby. Time to run some ads. We got to run ads so people don't get ads during the launch. Let's do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. No, Joshy, I won't until there's thermal protection. All right. Now we're talking about all this rocket launching. Dude, look at the access tower. That's cool, man. We're going to see crew launches from this pad soon. That's pretty neat. So, we got the Starlink 623, or... Yes. Yep, Starlink Group 623. Tonight, booster 1062 is flying. It's the 16th flight for this booster. It's SpaceX's 74th mission of 2023 in their 278th mission overall. Yeah, it does, T-Man. Absolutely. Inside of 3 minutes here, stage 1 oxidizer load is full. Your Starlink will be there tomorrow, Mutter. Nice. Dude. A freaking crew access tower at pad 40. I never thought I'd see that ever. It's so freaking cool, man. Yeah, that's 16, Tesla. Just 16. Just 16. Because why not? Why not 16? All right, why not 20? Yes, 10. Yes, 10 because we're really hungry. Why not? It's freaking awesome, man. So that's brand new. SpaceX is trying to launch people from here. That's what this is for. This is for like astronauts going up the elevator to the pad. That's what that thing is. Why not for 42,069? I agree. All right, we are inside of 2 minutes here.
Stage 2 lock float is complete.
Okay, stand by for ground gas closeout. What you're going to do is see a huge plume of smoke come out of the transporter erector on the side. That's the structure that's holding Falcon 9 in place. What they're doing is they're venting the oxygen out of the fuel lines, because the fuel lines for the second stage go up the transporter erector here. You can't fill the second stage through the first stage, so there's a gas cap for it basically on the side here. So the oxidizer and the fuel line go up. Now, the kerosene, so the RP1, they just drain back into the tanks. The liquid oxygen, though, they got to get it out quick, because if they don't, the oxidizer will boil off because it's cryogenic. When oxygen exists as a liquid, it's really freaking cold. So they can't just pump it all out of there. So what they do is they actually pump nitrogen up the line and purge it out. So all the liquid oxygen that's remaining in that transporter erector gets shot out the side as gaseous oxygen. And I'm pretty sure
Falcon 9 is in startup.
we are in startup here, T-minus 55 seconds. And I don't think anybody's going to get mad venting oxygen into the atmosphere. Okay, vehicle is fully fueled. At the 60-second mark, Falcon 9's auto sequencer was initiated. Launch director is reporting go. The auto sequencer is basically the onboard computer that's checking and making sure everything on the vehicle is good. Is gravy for flying into space tonight. T-minus
30 seconds.
Hey, those are my lines. T-minus 30 seconds, or 24 now. 20 seconds. At T-minus 12, you'll see the sound suppressor. Pad suppression systems turn on.
15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9.
There they go.
7, 6, 5, 4. 3,
Engine ignition.
2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon. Go Starlink.
Liftoff. Starlink 623. 16th flight. Booster 1062.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Looking real good here. We got a good call for stage 1 propulsion. The next call you should hear is power and telemetry. It usually happens around 45 seconds. That's basically making sure all the electrical systems aren't shorting out on the vehicle. You really, really want that to not happen.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Okay, T plus 46, we heard nominal power and telemetry. The next step here is maximum dynamic pressure. Basically, what they do is throttle down the engines on Falcon 9 to make sure that the aerodynamic forces don't crumple the vehicle like an accordion.
Vehicle supersonic.
Okay. Pass the sound barrier in 68 seconds. There's max Q.
Max Q.
Maximum dynamic pressure. The plain English way of explaining what max Q is that the rocket can't move the air out of the way fast enough. So air starts getting compressed on the front of the vehicle and it starts to squish it. You don't want that. The tanks are full of fuel and squishing them is like compressing a balloon. Bad idea.
Kill has started.
So that's the call for stage 2 conditioning there. The Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage is now having propellants flowed through it to cool it down to an operating temperature so it doesn't thermally shock the motor when they go to turn it on. Remember, the oxidizer on board Falcon 9 is extremely cold. Like, remember the Terminator with the T-1000? Hasta la vista, baby. It's like that. that cold. Actually, yeah, it's about that cold. Pretty close. So if you just shot those cool propellants into the engine, it'll shatter it. It'll break like a freaking glass window. You don't want that. So they're cooling it down. That's what they're starting to do here. Next step, at about 2 minutes, 30 seconds is usually when main engine cutoff happens. That's the 9 engines in the first stage shutting off. And then a rapid succession of events here. Stage separation and then upper stage ignition.
Main engine cutoff.
There it is. Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
At 2 minutes 29, stage separation at 2:31. Upper stage ignition.
MVAC ignition.
Good. Perfect. Stiffener ring separation at 2:43. Everything's looking real good here. Very good. Very good. You could see some of the second stage plume interacting with the booster here and bouncing off the grid fins. That's why the grid fins are lit up. Some of the gases, the hot gases coming out of there are hitting those titanium grid fins. In the background of the first stage here on the left, you can see the coast of Florida. That's the East Coast right there. You can see Daytona and Jacksonville right there.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There's the fairing popping off there at 3 minutes 9 seconds, exposing the Starlink satellites to the vacuum. Okay, right now the first stage is kind of coasting, and onboard thrusters, cold gas nitrogen thrusters on the first stage are turning it, so the rocket engine nozzles are going to be the first thing that hits the atmosphere on re-entry. Second stage is 116 kilometers in altitude, traveling at 9,000 kilometers an hour. First stage, 111 kilometers in altitude and 112 going up, and speed is decelerating as it gets to the peak of its ballistic arc. Okay. Stage 1 is at 69,000 kilometers an hour. 116 kilometer altitude on the first stage. When we see the speed on the first stage on the left start to go up, that's when it's starting to decrease in altitude. So that means it's gotten past its apogee, which is the highest point in its kind of flight. Okay, speed is at 69.59 on the first stage. Second stage crossing 10,000 kilometers an hour at 139 kilometers. Okay, stage one has started to speed up again, 69.68 and going up. 116 kilometers in altitude, indicating it's past apogee here. You were close, Tessa. Second stage at 145 kilometers, traveling at 10,690 kilometers an hour. Merlin 1D vacuum glowing in the night. Okay. As the first stage starts to come down and gets back down into the atmosphere, the thermals are going to start building up. Basically what happens is, as it starts interacting with the upper parts of the atmospheric gases, those gases will start to compress up against the vehicle because it's going so fast. Because of this, those compressive gases are going to start generating a lot of heat, because when you compress gases, it makes heat. The compressed gas pushing up against that first stage as it's coming back down is actually going to heat up so much that it's actually going to ionize and create plasma. So Falcon 9, to get that plasma, to shoo it away from the vehicle, fires its rocket engines actually into the re-entry heat. It's called supersonic retropropulsion, and we should be seeing it here in the next 20 seconds. Basically, Falcon 9's engines are the heat shield. The gases coming out of the engines shield the entire booster in a cool column of gas to make sure that it doesn't burn up in the re-entry heating. It can fly through its own plume, but it can't fly through re-entry. The rocket gases coming out are actually a great heat shield because they're not as hot. Right? Re-entry heating
Stage 1, FTS has saved.
Flight termination system on the first stage.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Has saved, indicating startup of the entry burn. There it is. That's the heat shield, guys. Those flames coming out the bottom. Heat shield. Use what you got, right? Second stage is currently 161 kilometers in altitude, traveling at 15,400 kilometers an hour. First stage is decelerating very rapidly, under 5,000 kilometers an hour.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
At 42 kilometers.
Stage 2, FTS has saved.
And moving towards the deck,
Both
awfully
vehicles remain on
fast.
normal trajectory.
Okay. Flight controllers at SpaceX indicate both vehicles are on nominal trajectories. We do see some plasma accumulation on the grid fins up there. There it is. See, the gases are being compressed in between the fins on the grid fins, and it's actually ionizing and making plasma. You've seen some plasma scoring there. Oh, that's cool, man. Being live streamed to you in real time. Hey, the future's pretty cool. The future's pretty damn cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, we do have a blackout on the first stage. The plasma does kind of screw with the signal a little bit. But second stage is at 159 kilometers in altitude, traveling at 19,000 kilometers an hour. First stage is under 10 kilometers here, 1,600 kilometers an hour. Under 1,000 miles an hour there.
Stage 1 transonic.
Stage 1 is in the transonic regime. We should have a connection reestablished here momentarily. Yeah, Tessa, isn't that crazy? Second stage, crossing 21,000 kilometers an hour at 156 kilometer altitude. First stage is 4 kilometers off the deck, under 1,000 kilometers an hour, so 600 miles an hour.
Stage 2 nominal trajectory.
Should hear the call for the landing burn here momentarily. There it is.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn is good. T plus 8 minutes, 5 seconds. It's very cloudy out there on the ocean tonight. Can't even see the drone ship just yet. There it is at the last second.
Landing lid deploy.
First stage. Right down on the bullseye. Perfect. Oh,
Stage 1 landing.
A little bit of residual fire coming out of the stage there. They're going to purge it out with the onboard helium. They're going to use some ullage propellants there to get that fire out. They're going to use the helium to snuff the flames on the first stage there. Second stage is at
back shutdown. Has
hit second stage engine cutoff at 152 kilometers, 27,055 kilometers an hour. We should hear a call for nominal orbit insertion, but
nominal orbit insertion.
Hey! Oh! Yes! We got it! We got it! And then SpaceX cut the cast. They usually cut the cast before the call for nominal orbit insertion. But a great mission, Starlink 623. Pretty cool, huh? I don't care if they launch all the time. I could watch this 1,000 times and it'd still be good, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. We got it.
Discovery.
Pretty good, huh? Pretty good, man. The green at the end, is that normal? Yeah. Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, a little bit of green. Alex, what happens basically sometimes with these motors is that they burp. Rocket engines, when they shut off, basically the reason why they hit it with helium is because you're going to get residual propellants inside of the motor. And think about it like a car's exhaust. When you shut the rocket engine off and you have some residual propellants in certain spots, it can burp. It'll backfire. That happens. It's not good for it. The green, what you most likely saw is some of the liner inside of the combustion chamber. It's copper. And when copper burns, it burns green. So when you see it burn like that, it probably burped a little bit with some of the residual propellants and burned a little bit of the liner. Not a big deal. The liner on those Merlin engines is super thick. You know how I know? Not because I work for SpaceX, because they reuse them all the time. It's got to be thick. You don't want it to be thin and have one fail during reuse, right? So it's definitely overbuilt. So a little burp like that probably damaged the engine just a smidge, but at this point, that's normal wear and tear, which is still crazy to me. Well, you could be T-tab dead, but you wouldn't have triethyl aluminum and triethyl boron, those are pyrophoric igniter fluid. Why would you ignite something when you shut the engine off? Intentionally, right? It's residual in the copper liner being burnt off. You wouldn't have T-tab being fired during the drone ship landing, unless something went horribly wrong, in which case the thing's probably exploded at this point, but I didn't see any evidence of that happening. Did you just say English words? No, Brown. The thing is that I'm fluent in nerd. I'm fluent in nerd. Very fluent in nerd. Rocket engines. What we're talking about is when the rocket engine shuts off. Think about it like if you shut off a garden hose, there's still some water in the line. That's why you see sometimes the rocket engine burps, because it ignites that residual propellant in the line. That happens. It's just like cutting the tap off, because remember, it's a liquid. You're flowing liquid around at the end of the day, and then you're turning it to gas and shooting it out the back, right? So some of that liquid does get stuck, and some of it does find its way into the combustion chamber after you shut the taps off, and it blows up, which is why the rocket engine burps. It's really cool. I love watching these things. Apollo baby here, watching since the 60s. My guy. That's what I'm talking about, Barley. Yep. It doesn't get old, DM, does it? Ingenuity, the helicopter that's on Mars, has performed its 60-second flight. Chat, did you know they did helicopter on Mars? Just like they did surgery on a grape. They did surgery on a grape. Same here, grew up in Apollo. So you guys have been watching for some time now. It took us a little bit of time, but it's finally nice to see spaceflight get the freaking attention it deserves. People that were alive and watched the Apollo program, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because it seems like that flame was awesome for a second, and then they put it out. They snuffed the damn thing, right? But now we're getting it back, man. And it can be live streamed to your damn computer, which is pretty freaking cool, dude. Pretty cool. Future's pretty awesome. I like that part. That part's pretty neat. When surgery on a grape on Mars? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Sometime soon, dude. It just got me how smooth that video feed was compared to the ones I remember in the past. I mean, SpaceX got the presentation game down pat, dude. If only we could get it. If only we could get it in 1080p on X. That would be great. We live in an age where we can directly argue with NASA engineers and influence a private company's design. Yep. Live streamed to my watch, Kappa. Really? You can do that? That's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's good stuff, Barley, isn't it? It's pretty cool. All right, dudes. Oh, man.
Discovery.
It's a good day. It's a good day for space. This is great. This is fantastic. It's so freaking cool, man. That stuff never gets old. I don't know if you guys could tell. I'm kind of into it. Like, I'm kind of into it. It's pretty cool. Let's be honest. The streaming on X is all testing, and I bet HD will be coming soon. Not only HD, Hellfish, but I've seen X in the past stream multiple camera angles. So, like, we can just pick the camera angles. I really hope they bring that functionality back. I don't know how to feel about the tower at 40. It feels a bit funky. Let's go take a look. Let's go look at it. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to seeing the dang thing without, I'm just used to seeing it with nothing there. I'm used to just seeing the Spock behind it. They realized how expensive that bandwidth is. Yeah, maybe. I'm geeking. I'm geeking hard, dude. Please. Please come back. There we go. Yeah, dude. How about that? So, how many pads have crew access arms at this point? 40, 41, 39A, 39B. We have 4 pads that are capable or will be capable of launching people on them very soon. Not only that, 4 active pads, which is even cooler. That's really neat. I like that. Behold the power of triangles. Yeah. Question is, which pads don't? Yes. There's a lot of pads down there, Dark. I'll take 4. Four pads that have capability of launching crew is pretty sweet. Oh, there we go, Thomas. Yeah, there's the last section of the crew access arm right here. Being transported on Space Coast Live from my buddies over at NASA Spaceflight. Okay, so that's the access right there. There's the mounts for the crew access arm. And what did you say what's the green? The HVAC line for the arm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is into some HVAC systems there. 0 pads, 0 launches. Gee, wouldn't it be nice if there was a way for people who wanted to watch something more than once to get data from your server and once and watch it multiple times, Kappa? Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Why are they adding a crew access arm on this pad? Dude, we have a pretty interesting conversation, Ivan. That's a pretty damn good question. Now, my personal theory, I think they're going to stop launching people from 39A. That's my personal theory. I think they're going to move Falcon 9 operations off of 39A permanently. Yeah. I think they're going to do that so they can retool 39A for Starship. Why else would they build a crew access arm at 40? It doesn't make any sense. Now consider this, Ivan. I also have a crazy theory. I've looked at expansion plans for Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. It's all public resource. You can go find this stuff. But I looked at expansion plans, dude, for Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Slick 37B, which is a Delta IV Heavy pad. There's only one Delta IV Heavy left that's going to launch from that thing. Per Cape Canaveral Space Force Station expansion plans in the future, they have a customer for Slick 37B after ULA vacates the pad with Delta. Who could that really be? Well, we saw plans of SpaceX wanting to build a mobile service tower at Complex 39 so Falcon Heavy could do Department of Defense payloads. Let's think about this. ULA is vacating the pad. 37B has a mobile service tower for integrating Department of Defense payloads on a Delta IV Heavy sized rocket, which is pretty much the same size as Falcon Heavy. It's pretty much the same. That's the same size. So SpaceX needs an MST. ULA is going to vacate a pad with an MST. I don't think it's a reasonable stretch to think that Falcon Heavy operations are going to move to Slick 37. Right? Think about it. Crew access arm at pad 40, and Slick 37's lease is almost done because the one last Delta IV flight, and then ULA is going to vacate the pad because they don't need it because of Vulcan and Atlas launching from 41. SpaceX needs a mobile service tower. I think they're gonna launch Falcon Heavy from Complex 37. And another interesting thing. This is all super speculation on my part. I have no idea if this is happening. I don't know anybody. Right? Like, I don't have any insider information. This is kind of a stretch from me. It's all speculative, right? But I think, if you think about it, 37 is a twin pad launch complex. Not a lot of people know that. It was designed to simultaneously integrate and launch Saturn 1Bs. There's 2 Saturn 1B pads there. So it's a twin pad launch complex. That's why it's called Slick 37B. So if SpaceX, the workhorse pad for SpaceX right now is pad 40. But SpaceX isn't going to risk the high launch cadence on a pad that's going to launch crew. So I have a personal theory that SpaceX is going to build another Falcon 9 pad at 37A and reactivate 37A. It's never launched anything, believe it or not. 37A never saw a rocket launch. It was only Slick 37B. They ended up never using the 2 pads because they didn't need it. Those pads were built. They built 37B just in case the Saturn V couldn't work, and they had to work with an Apollo architecture with only the Saturn 1B. True story. That's why they built 2 pads, so they could do EOR and get to the moon that way. But the Saturn V ended up working, so they never needed it. Because remember, the whole point of Apollo was to get it done in time. We choose to go to the moon in this decade, right? Will Vulcan ever launch from Vandenberg? Slick 3. Yeah, Slick 3E is being retooled right now, Funky. Absolutely. And see, Funky, that's exactly where I got the idea that SpaceX is going to take 37. Because Delta IV's launch pad at Vandenberg, SpaceX took it. Slick 6. They took it for Falcon Heavy. So, if we look at a map of the Cape here, hey, Matt, 103 months, dude. 51 more to go. Nice. So, this is Slick 40 right here. That's that pad. Right here. That's 40. That crew access tower is basically right here. It's on that patch, right? So if we go down here, scroll down here a little ways, that's Slick 37. Check it out. Slick 37 has 2 pads. There's the original pad B right there, and pad A. Pad A was never used. But what the idea here is that you have your hydrogen over here and your LOX over here, and you could pump to this pad or you could pump to that pad. That was the idea. Once again, plan ended up never happening, right? ULA built Delta 4's pad basically just to the right of where the original Apollo pad was here at Slick 37. That's the mobile service tower that I'm talking about, Ivan. That is basically designed to receive a payload. A payload gets put in the back here, and it lifts it up and crowns the rocket. I think SpaceX is going to take that. I think they're going to take it, they're going to refurbish this pad, and then on top of that, I think they're going to build another Falcon 9 pad over here, which is really freaking cool. It's really cool to see 37A get some action, because it's never launched anything. Simultaneously, another thing that I know about, because I've walked in this building, is Delta 4 actually has a twin HIF. There's 2 HIFs here with a storage area. So you could integrate 2 Falcon 9s in here. So I think possibly in the future, you're going to see a transporter erector path that goes up here to 37B, and the HIF number 1, its path is going to go that way and go to 37A, or they're going to split right here. And then, from that Cape Canaveral Space Force Station expansion plan, dude, I saw something else very curious. This area right here, basically from here to here, to here, to here, to there, that area is also slated for future use. That expansion plan said that a customer has this area, has the entire pad perimeter, and then that yellow highlighted area for future use. Now, this is another stretch, but it seems right. SpaceX actually let their lease expire on, former Complex 13. The landing pads, they let the lease expire. My theory, actually, another commercial customer is going to take LC-13, and they're going to use SpaceX's pads for something. I don't know. That's the former Complex 13. Complex 14 is there. Complex 12 is there, and what's left of Complex 11 was absorbed by the creature that is Blue Origin. So they're vacating the pads. The lease is up. That was mentioned in the expansion plan. So I have a theory that that spot right here, SpaceX is going to build 2 new landing pads there. And they're going to be able to land and immediately put the booster right back in the HIF and then send it right back to the pad. I think. It's just a theory. I don't know that for sure. Both Via and Phantom Space are taking 13. Thank you, Thomas. Yep. So that's my theory. Crew Dragon and Cargo Dragon operations supporting the ISS only on 40. Slick 37A being the new workhorse pad for Falcon 9. And then Slick 37B for Falcon Heavy and any additional Falcon 9 launch cadence. I think these 3 pads are going to be for Falcon 9, and 39A is going to... They're going to take parts off of 39A, all these parts. They're going to take them off, and they're going to restore 39A. Not restore it. They're going to retool it for Starship. Yeah, SpaceX seems to have a need for a flame trench if IFT-1 was any indicator. So that's my personal theory. I think that's what's going on. Concept we came up with when that Space Force thing dropped. Yeah, there you go. There's the picture. We had a whole news segment a little while back where we thought about this kind of stuff, and Thomas, you photoshopped the picture. See, I think that's what we're gonna get, something like that. But I don't know for sure. It's all speculation. If I drive 400 miles to Vandenberg to watch a launch, what rocket would you suggest? Anything, Barley. Rockets are magical. There's nothing like them. I would say it's out of this world, but I don't feel like getting proverbially kicked in the nuts from chat for making a bad joke. They're awesome. Anything. I mean, well, Falcon is the only thing that's really launching out of Vandenberg right now, because there's 3 major pads that are operational. Actually 4 if you count Firefly. Firefly is Complex 2. Complex 3 is being retooled for Vulcan, for ULA's Vulcan. Complex 4 is Falcon 9, and Complex 6 is Falcon Heavy. Complex 4 is completely operational. That's where you're most likely to see a launch. So I'd say go get a Falcon. They go off all the time. 400 miles is a little bit of a trek, but still cool. Yeah, I had another crazy theory from this that we discussed, guys. What can you tell me about that picture? My crazy theory is that SpaceX, when they move 39 Falcon 9 operations, if they do move Falcon 9 operations off of 39A, I think they're gonna demolish the HIF, and I think they'll restore crawlerway access to 39A. Why would they do that? Well, Starship is a gigantic rocket, and with how much Starship is going to launch, it would be nice to have a hangar to store a bunch of Starships in. High Bay 1 in the VAB is vacant right now. Just saying. And also CT-1, Crawler Transporter 1, which is basically a giant SPMT that is used to move launch pads around, could move a lot of Starships if you just made a Starship transport platform on those. It could move Starship and Super Heavy at the same time, which would be really useful for SpaceX's launch cadence. Just saying. It's not every day you come across a 500-foot tall building to store rockets in, and simultaneously have a 500-foot tall, well, a 300-foot tall rocket that you want to launch. No, that was just, it's a Google Earth image. There's only 2 crawlers, Synerd. That would also allow them to demo the current Falcon 9 building and put the crawlerway in. I think they're going to do it, Tessa. I think they're going to do it, and I think in this, check this Photoshop picture that Thomas did. I think they're going to make a split in the crawlerway and have the crawlerway go right to the second Starship pad that's already there, the existing one that's built right here. It's just a theory, guys. That's me hitting the hopium a little bit. I hope that they do that, because it would be cool to see a Starship rolling out of the VAB with SLS right next to it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't want that. But the whole HIF thing, demolishing the HIF and extending the crawlerway and restoring the pad for crawler access, is a little far-fetched. I'll even admit it. It's mostly me hitting the hopium.
Go and throttle up.
I hope. Hey, Tin Town, 9-month resub. And Matt had 103 months, dude. How you doing, buddy? How was your trip back from Florida? Did I miss it? Yeah, Jigsy, that thing's gone. It's the hopium. EJ's hitting the hopium again, Roz. Oh God. It would really, really make me happy to see Complex 39 used for its intended purpose. It might seem like the crawler transporter and the mobile launcher system goes really slow, but when you're moving 8 million pounds of rocket, it's actually pretty fast, considering it moves an 8 million pound rocket with a 7 million pound pad on top of it, all in one shot. Moving that at a mile an hour is pretty damn impressive. And I will say to this day that Complex 39 is designed to rapidly put vehicles together. It's designed to really scale up and put a lot of vehicles together. I know this because, well, you needn't look no further. Well, the Apollo missions were launching basically at its peak. They were launching one Saturn V every 3 months, right? The shuttle program at its peak was Complex 39 was able to crank out a shuttle launch pretty much every month. I think that 39 was, because Von Braun was a nutso and he's the guy that designed it. That guy really liked space. Also had a little bit of a weird past, but I digress. I think Von Braun designed it to basically launch once a week. I think they could scale up and use the crawlerway and roll a lot of Starships to 39A, which would be really freaking cool, man. That'd be really cool. Elon has said in the past that the HIF could be removed in the right circumstances, so it may not be as far-fetched as you think. I think I'm just hitting the hopium, but it's possible. Twice a week with both crawlers. Yeah, well, If you have multiple launchers, Tyler, it's possible, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm not just hitting the hopium. You know what I mean? I hope that would happen, because as a spaceflight fan, that'd be really cool. But, yeah, I understand it's a little far-fetched. Did I miss the launch? Yes. Yes, you did. That thing's long gone. Anyway, what time is it? Wow. Okay. It's already 9 o'clock. Man, this stream went by fast. Also, do you really think Elon would pass up the chance for that Saturn V recreation photo shoot? No. That's part of the reason why I think it's possible, Aqualex. You know Elon and SpaceX love doing stuff like that. They love taking NASA stuff and actually putting it to use. It's so bad saying that out loud, but they do. There is a very real question about how they would get starships to and from the pad. Hellfish, the VAB on the sides of like the high base, there's basically shelves. And if you build them right, you could just store starships, one on top of the other. I'm serious. Here, I'll show you. They did it with the external tanks. They used to store external tanks inside of the high bays when they weren't using them. There's like a whole external tank testing and checkout facility in High Bay 3 that's not being used, or not High Bay 3, High Bay 4 that's not being used anymore. Give me 1 second. I gotta find I'm trying to find a picture. That's storage, not transportation, though. Well, I think they could use the crawler in a mobile launcher that's been modified to hold, you know, like a bunch of starships. Right? And then I think they could store the freaking starships on racks inside of the VAB. It'll look like something like a TIE fighter launch facility, but with starships. I'm trying to find a good picture of it. So, see these shelves on the sides right here, dudes? These, like, housings on the side. Now, for the shuttle, those are... this is from space.com, but... So, the shuttle, they have service gantries for when they're moving the stack. But see how there's this, like, recessed area right there? You can kind of see it. In High Bay 4, which is over there, because this is High Bay 1, right? In High Bay 4, they have just mounts right here to hold the external tanks, and it's kind of a sight to see. You know, like, no, there's no pictures of it, but in High Bay 4, there's basically spots for 4 external tanks. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. They just store them one on top of the other, and they make mounts for them to kind of hang out inside of the high bay, like actually hang inside of the high bay, just like they're hanging on the pad right there. It was for external tank checkout and testing, and also storage. It's nuts, dude. When I was about 7 in 1976, we toured Kennedy and saw the shuttle being built. Cool. Why are there no pictures? I don't know. But I'm talking like in these recessed areas where the service gantries would go, like 2 external tanks on either side, and then 2 external tanks on top of that. Dude, can you imagine seeing like couple of starships just chilling in there in various states of processing before they shoot out to the pad, or they're just being stored because SpaceX isn't using them right now? That's very unlikely, but once again, it's not every day that you come across a 300 or 500 foot tall integration building. And one of the high bays is free. It's an ET library. Dude, it is the gnarliest thing you've ever seen. I really wish I could find some pictures of the damn thing. Here, let's try VAB High Bay 4. Yeah, see, look, High Bay 4, external tank processing and storage. Crazy, right? External tank, High Bay 2, ET processing and storage, third orbiter safe haven. Isn't that cool? Something like this. It's something like this, like that picture, but vertical. This is inside of Michoud. This is in Louisiana. That's the assembly line for the ETs. But yeah, Something like this, but vertical, like just stacks of ETs. Because you got to think. Yeah, map. There you go, map, right? Yep. Because they were going to scale up the shuttle a lot, so they needed a lot of place to store those external tanks. So they stockpiled them so they could launch the shuttle all the time. That's High Bay 3. All these shots are of High Bay 3 and the SLS retooling. But there it is. There it is. Check it out. Look. So each High Bay 4 and High Bay 2 have external tank storage areas, right? 2 and 2. And then there's SRB processing, where they start stacking the first segment of the SRB on the nozzle. And then High Bay 1 and High Bay 3 are actually where they would put shuttle stacks together. High Bay 1 is vacant right now. High Bay 3 is for SLS. High Bay 2 is for core stage assembly now, believe it or not, and High Bay 4 is for SRB processing and core stage storage. They carried it right over into the SLS program. Excuse me. I always wondered what did they put in the nose cone of the ET. Gaseous oxygen vents, if you really want to know. GOX vent. That's what's in the nose cone. It's a venting system because you have to have a vent at the top of the ET. Yeah, see, there's an SRB processing stand. It's so freaking cool. I want, dude, somewhere floating around on the internet is a shot of like a couple of external tanks hanging inside of one of these cells. It's seriously one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Because the VAB is just nuts. You don't know the scale of this building until you go and see it. It is freaking gigantic. It's something out of some crazy sci-fi. Like, if the door opened and a mech suit came out the side, I'd be like, yep. All right. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, see, there's some of them. They're moving the processing bays out of there. Would it be in the NASA media server? I found it on the internet before Aqualex. I just forget where. Hey, Toity, 84-month resub. Thank you. Yeah. Those pictures are around somewhere, dudes, but maybe High Bay 2. Oh, here's something. What do you got? Oh, yep, there it is, dude. That's one of the pictures. See? Just an ET, just chilling. And look, there's another one below it. Whatever. See? You could, well, actually, you can't really see that there's another one below it, but yeah, they could store another one down here, which is just bananas to me. That's like, all right, cool. We're talking a scale and stacking operations that you just don't see. But the crazy, like, it's a scale you don't get, right? But here's the thing. Starship is about the same size as the ET. It's about the same size as the shuttle's external tank. It's very close. It's actually, Starship's a little bit bigger, right? Can you imagine seeing just two Starships just sitting there next to each other, like 300 feet up in the air, just hanging inside of the VAB? That would be awesome. Save the picture. Actually, good call. Thank you, Tessa. It's some real sci-fi stuff, Ivan, right? So, yeah, like I said, it's mostly me hitting the hopium, but it could happen. Hell, Hydra, you got something? Yep. Yep. There you go. There you go. That's one of them. Look at that. 2 cells for 2 external tanks sitting right next to each other, man. Is that wild or what? I think that's so freaking cool, man. Save this picture? Yes. Yes. All right. That's fair. That's fair. Is there an estimated launch date? No, we're waiting on the Fish and Wildlife Services. Yeah, as per the previous pig, you could put more of them up there. You could store... Actually, I was misremembering. I thought it was 2 and 2 on either side. No, you could store 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. But then again, you'd have to pull the external tank out. So it's probably just 2 per high bay, but still really freaking cool. Sidewinder, you got something? Dude. Oh, excellent. This is what I'm talking about. Look. See, I'm telling you, man, it'd be a great place to store them. And a very unique spot. Not many places, not many buildings can handle doing something like that. That are already freaking made. But once again, it could be me hitting the hopium. And Sidewinder, I will promptly save that image as well. The VAB is highly adaptable, Blue Flare, because they made the VAB very modular on purpose. It's built into its design. The reason why they did it is because they didn't think they'd be launching the Saturn V for very long. They thought they would scale up to Nova sooner rather than later. So the VAB is really built for a much bigger rocket. They were right about the part about Saturn V not launching for very long, but they were right for the wrong reasons. But yeah, the entirety of Complex 39A is designed to launch, oh, I don't know, I'd say, what was Nova's core stage with? 60 feet? So probably like a 10 to 15 meter rocket core. The entire thing, the entire complex is designed to launch up to a 15 meter core, if I'm understanding that right. Yeah, also the VAB is built like a Lego kit. That's right, it wasn't even finished. They could expand it in both. They could add 2 more high bays to the side, or they could go up with it as well. It's an entirely modular building design. They never did, because short-sightedness. But yeah, man, can you imagine, like, Ship 54 and Ship 55 going to the moon, just sitting there waiting to get moved out to the chopsticks at 39A. And they're just rolling on a crawler. Found a low-resolution head-on picture. Hey, Sidewinder, thanks for the sub, man. Oh, you got gifted a sub from Nova. Right on. Thanks, Nova. Yeah, see what I'm talking about? Not a lot of people know about this. You have to go looking for it. Isn't that cool? Starships could be hung from the rafters by the chopstick pegs. Exactly. You could just you could install a set of chopsticks on the side of this and just have it like a ladder in a library. Just go up the ladder, put the book on the shelf, and you come back down. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, Nova, I got you. Yeah, I know, Bill. I'm with you. Oh, dear. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty freaking cool. Another one? Like I said, yeah, they're out on the internet. You guys found them. I mean, I never doubt the internet, man, right? Look at that. Just some external tanks just chilling. Just stored for future missions. That's going into my shuttle research folder. Now the question is, do the higher ups at SpaceX know about this? You think they stored S4Bs where those ETs are? No, they didn't. They didn't, Nova. The S4Bs. Here, I'll show you. The S4Bs had processing hardware inside of the VAB transfer aisle, believe it or not. You know that like kind of side building that's attached to the 4 high bays? There are processing stools in there. Here, let me show you. Right there. See where the 3 is? S4B processing during the Apollo program was right there. There's 4 S4 processing areas. That's where they'd stack the S4B, stack the spacecraft and the lunar lander on top of them. There's 4 cells right there. You want to hear the really cool part? For better or for worse, they're still there. Yep, fun fact. Yeah, low bay checkout cell. There you go. They're still there. The processing cells are still there. They never got rid of them. They're still there. Yeah. You could store starships there too? Yeah, actually, that's possible. Sure. Yeah, the S4B processing cells inside of the VAB, the low bay, are still there. Yep. They never got rid of them because why? Why would you get rid of them? You don't need them for anything. There's no point. Just leave it there. Fun fact, High Bay 1 inside of the VAB. High Bay 1, the one that NASA isn't using right now, is still there as well. Give me one moment. Yep. High Bay 1 is in Space Shuttle processing configuration. It has been for the last who knows how many years. Yep. All the stuff is just sitting there. Yeah, see? No one's used this since July of 2011. It's still the same. I have other pictures floating around somewhere. Well, there is a picture of High Bay 1 stacking a shuttle stack. There's still Saturn stuff higher up, if I'm recalling correctly. Yeah, I think the High Bay pictures are actually up at the front of the stack. Yep, there you go. Yeah, the shuttle mobile launcher platform is still in there, and all the shuttle processing equipment is just sitting there. It's been sitting there since 2011, which is crazy. We could still integrate a shuttle stack in here. There's just no pad that can launch the damn thing. But yep, there's all the processing. You can see the outline for the external tank, the SRBs, and then here's the tail service mast umbilicals, the orbiter, and the rudder on the shuttle would be right here. Yep, and then there's the flame duct for the shuttle main engines. Yep, it's been sitting there. To understand scale here, there's a human-sized door in one of the tail service mast umbilicals. Yep, pretty cool, huh? Yep, the engine access platform is still there. That's right, Joe. They don't touch anything they don't need to. For real. Pretty crazy. Yeah. Copium. Yeah, the S4B processing cells, they're still there. They've been there for 50 years. They haven't processed a rocket since 1973. Actually, 1975 if you really want to be technical. But yeah, it's really annoying. They could take a load over that of where they were built to where they're building the shuttle stack.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
I wonder how much of that equipment would start up and run again. Cynerd, I know that each high bay has its own transformer, but yeah, electrical blueprints for the VAB are kind of few and far between. I know that each high bay has its own independent system. Because the high bays are designed to do whatever. You can see the S4B area back there. Yep. They're still there, man. Which, I don't know whether to be like, what? Really? Yeah, see? The processing cells, they're still there. It's really, really annoying. How goes it? It's going good, Sea Kraken. It's overbuilt in the 60s. Yeah, I bet you it works. Are you still planning on playing Satisfactory? I wasn't expecting the Starlink launch to tire me out as much as it did, but yeah, I think we'll probably play some Satisfactory maybe tomorrow or something, dude. I'm getting kind of tired, and we're coming up on about 10 hours, 10-hour uptime. I'm trying to get the streams to about 10 hours. I find that going after 10 hours really kills you. So, I think we'll start packing it in here, dudes. I hope you appreciated the Starlink coverage. I hope you appreciated the space news before that, talking about rockets, and then messing around with the VTVL vehicle in Kerbal. I think we'll keep going with the SERV Stokion thing that we're building. I'm basically in Kerbal, guys. I'm working for the people that came in from watching the rocket launch. In KSP, I'm trying to build a capsule-shaped stage. So you launch the thing, right, and it's just a capsule shape on the way up, and then it comes back down as a heat shield on the back. And it lands, comes back down, and You know, goes through re-entry like a capsule and then lands propulsively like Falcon 9. It's a pretty cool project that I'm working on, and I will be working on it tomorrow at noontime. So, I'll see you guys then. Who do we want to raid? From like a decade ago, visible in the back. Yep, they're still there, with the gantries and everything, Thomas. Can you believe that? Greg is on? Ah. What is Greg up to? Oh yeah. How about we end the night on an economy or astronomy stream? Actually, Greg's an economist too, but now let's go see what Greg's up to. We haven't rated Greg in such a long time. We'll cover it tomorrow, Erudite, okay? Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Econ Greg is actually he's an awesome streamer. He's an astronomy streamer, so you get live shots of him he has a stream camera that looks through a telescope. Really cool, and Greg is probably one of the most unintentionally savage individuals you've ever met. He's a good dude. Go give him a raid. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at noontime. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great night.